meetings of the select board are meetings in the public, not of the public. Members of the public must be acknowledged by the chair before speaking and state their name for the record. And I'm going to call the meeting to order and approve or edit the agenda. I don't think we have any edits.
I don't.
All in favor? All right, our appointments tonight, we're starting off with the Bethel Library Association, who wants appropriation request of $35,000.
So Lisa, just so you know, I did put in the packet, I put last year's information and request and this year, so that if they could have two things to compare in case they had any questions. Yeah, that probably closer, yeah. Thank you. I know you love public speaking. That's your favorite.
We set it up for Bennett.
Yeah, he's holding down the fort at the library.
That's-
Is this on?
Yep.
Yep,
Okay.
Finn
Right.
says you're good.
So, questions? Anybody? Were you hoping for a little spiel first? I have the numbers for the town report. I can bring them out if you want to hear them.
They have those numbers too. I
Okay.
don't know. What do you
Alright.
guys want?
I'm good with the paperwork I got.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
That's easy.
Okay, all right. Well, you know how to find me if questions come up later.
So-
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, well, yeah, there's questions.
Actually, one thing I saw from the food shelf submission was that they have an actual, they have reserves. And so I'm curious if the library also has a reserve. fund.
Like a financial reserve?
Yeah.
That's what we're working on. So that's kind of the idea, is that we were able to we would like to build up our reserve so that ultimately we would be financially independent. And it is going up for sure. And that's what we're working on. And that's why the appropriation from the town has been really important and helpful to keep that rolling. Yep.
I think one thing we like to encourage, like the rec committee, right, is, as if we're gonna be appropriating money, it's helpful to know what you're working towards.
And that is something that was one of our questions, was that the select board a couple of years ago had asked the library, you were supposed to be doing some long range planning, but we haven't seen the results of that yet. Have
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
Are you any further in that?
We've had trouble finding someone who's available to help us with the strategic planning.
Uh-huh.
So the plan is, with the research that we've done, for libraries in Vermont, if they have an endowment of about $1 million, that the proceeds from that can then support, the library as it moves forward. We're about, I don't know, we're about a third of the way there. You probably saw it in the numbers, so, and with the market going up and down, like for everybody, we're keeping an eye on that. So. And we're also doing a fair amount of fundraising in order to try to fund anything else we need. We're applying for a couple of grants now to do some renovations to the front steps, to put in a ramp on the back. So we go out and seek grant funding for that kind of thing. The money that we get from the town, it keeps the lights on, it pays the librarian. And it does supplies and books and activities and that kind of.
I did see where the biggest source of income for the library is the town appropriation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And a little history before was, I think we were at like 2,000, then 2,500, then 5,000, and but that was before Bennett joined.
Right.
Right, and
Right.
they were kind of spending down their endowments.
Yeah.
And Bennett was finally like, you're gonna go broke.
Right.
You need to ask for some help, and then
Right.
I remember when Chris was the chair, he was saying, okay, how much, how
Right.
long, what's your,
Right. Right. Yep.
So I know that.
And maybe you need to ask for more. I remember him saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did say that.
Yeah. So, that's where we're at. And we continue to work on it and keep track of it and take care of it. So that's what we're working
Do
towards.
you have a number that your goal is that you think you can,
Our goal is $1 million.
million?
Yeah. So there's, a tiny amount comes from the Brandlier Trust. It's split between us and another organization in the area. So depending on what the market looks like, we could get a little bit think it's 3 times a year. And so, and that's put again into the endowment. We've gotten some donations from local folks, and they have allowed us to put that in the endowment. So anything extra that we get, extra is a strong word, but anything like that, that's a donation in somebody's memory or something goes into the endowment so that it keeps building towards what we want.
Do you know how much you have in your endowment/reserve?
Well, we've just turned it into an endowment. It was an investment account, so we've just turned it into an endowment. And I believe we went over the numbers at the at the annual meeting, and I think it's a little over $300,000. So, and yep, and Teresa's right. We were spending it down, and that's what was happening, and we really didn't have any idea about how to run a nonprofit. And that's how Bennett came in and he said, you got to start acting like it, folks. So that's where we were at. And if we're not taking anything out of it and it's continuing to build up, then we get there faster. And then our appropriate, our response to things we need is to seek out grants for that. And like I said, what we get from the town pretty much keeps the lights on and,
So your
Hey.
goal is to get to the million
yeah,
and you're at 300,000, you hope to get to the $1 million mark and then, slowly reduce your appropriation, hopefully, and stay
correct.
fund as much as you
Right.
can. Yeah.
Yeah. We'd like it to be, self-funding.
Sure.
Yeah, that's our goal. Yeah,
We have an idea of how long
that will
that
take.
looks like, yeah.
You're asking the wrong person. Yeah, I think it depends on where the markets go and what kind of donations we can get. We're working on seeking out a couple of people who have some expertise in fund building. And we're just,
You're pretty much breaking even between your
Right.
income and your expenses. So I mean, you're not building, but you're not spending down anymore either.
we're not spending down anymore either. And there was money there that's continuing to build, hopefully. We'll cross our fingers and hope for the best about the markets and that kind of thing.
But it could be a while at the current rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
40 years.
25 to 35 years.
Well,
Okay, that's something to look forward to.
yep, well, yep, and it's a goal. You gotta have a goal and
100%.
as we all know, it's a hard time to
You never know.
ask people for extra money, but you never know what'll happen. So,
And it
We
seems
just-
like we've always had an activity going on at the library. So,
yeah,
no, definitely,
Yep.
more of a community
Yep.
hub, I think.
it is.
Yeah.
And we've actually had a couple people come in and say, what happened to the computers? And I was like, so, and they're the new ones are on their way. So,
Okay.
yeah. And the one that they found is supposed to come back to us, but we don't know what kind of shape it's in and they don't either. So
Yeah.
we're gonna take that as it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So, and you know how to find us if you come up with other questions later, and I'll be at town meeting, so. Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
I do want to say I have a lot of respect for what you guys do. You do have a packed schedule and then you put a lot of work in. I was at town meeting last year.
Yeah.
And people really stood up and said
Yeah.
that they utilize the library.
They do.
But I do have concerns that we are the major source of fund or income, right? I love that your donations are going up. I
Mhm.
saw that. But the fundraising went down this past year. It'd be great to see us even sort of matching what's coming in, but I have concerns that we're taxing people to pay for something that's not necessarily infrastructure in town. And that's my personal opinion. I don't know if anyone else shares that opinion on the board, but I know a lot of people in town feel really strongly about funding the library
Mhm.
because we saw Gene's motion to
Yeah.
restore that, or it was the food shelf, sorry,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was
But you had a lot of support from the town on
Yeah.
this, so
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna change anyone's mind on that.
I think if it helps at all, we're one of there's a lot of 501c3 libraries in Vermont. But most are funded by their towns in one way or another. And we're actually, forget how far down we are, but we're one of the libraries that run on the least amount of money in town, aside from, in Vermont, aside from the one that is only open in the summer and it doesn't have
Right.
any electricity or water.
Yeah.
And there's a couple others that are our size
You're
too.
doing an
Yeah.
amazing job on the budget you have. There's no
Well,
doubt
and
about
we're working on it. We had an intern last summer who helped us beef up the website and we're excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah, so, yeah.
And then I know you do a book club. We have some employees that do it and that you
Yep.
guys have quite the crowd for that.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I see a game night,
Yeah,
this and that.
and interlibrary loan, we used to purchase the books for the book club and now we get them all through interlibrary loan.
Yep,
And Libby is incredibly popular. So,
I use that through
yep.
different towns, but the same, public libraries,
Yep.
same thing.
So since we started keeping the records after the last town meeting, there's been over 1,000 books borrowed off of Libby
Mhm.
and almost 200 now from interlibrary loan that people come in and ask for,
Mm.
which is books we don't have to buy.
Yeah. So do you have fundraising plans for the, I know you do the coin drop, right?
We do the coin drop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there something that you used to do that you don't do anymore, that reason that your fundraising money was down?
Well, years ago, and before my time, they used to do a book sale.
Uh-huh,
And it ended up not really being helpful.
Yeah.
With the amount of time it took.
yeah.
So they did that. We've got, like I said, we've had people do donations.
Mhm.
We've got from the Burn Foundation, we got a lump sum of money this year just because somebody wrote and asked for it.
Nice.
And then Preservation Trust is who we're working with in terms of the repairing the front entrance.
Mhm.
And then there's another one through the library, Vermont libraries. It's for, like preserving older buildings. So we're working on that too.
Yeah, if you need letters for it or anything from the select board or, just let me know. I'm happy
Thank
to-
you.
happy
Yeah,
to
I'll
do
take you
that.
up on that.
Yeah, happy to do that,
be
especially for
great.
historic, preservation.
Okay.
And,
I'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
Your name for the record. Okay,
And then either the last county, or the ranking, how the town of Bethel tax revenue supports Bethel libraries compared to other local communities. And at that time, Bethel we were really down, like we were not supporting our libraries anywhere to bring them Randolph or Walton, this correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, right, no, you know,
Yeah, so that, you know, we're kind of, part of this time, and was supporting the very valuable resource.
Yeah, it is a valuable resource, but we're still at the lower end of what, local funds is. But some of them are municipal libraries, so that's, a little different, but.
Really appreciate that. Yeah, I know it's my own personal opinion that I don't think we should use taxpayer money for that sort of thing, but
It's
right, here we are.
It's one that is shared by you and other constituents. It's not just you who feel that way.
I don't think you're gonna see your appropriation go down. Let's put it that way.
Always hoping.
To make it go down? Just kidding.
Yeah.
I know, I'm kidding. Of course it does, yeah. I think we should encourage people to donate for that cause rather than force them to donate for that cause. Right.
One of the things that, in the United States, the library systems are all of that we're talking about. And when you come in and apply for a job, and borrow books or borrow videos or do what you need to do, bring your kids to do their homework, and it doesn't cost you anything. Yes, it's a taxpayer dollar. It ends up, I don't know, we had talked about what kind of cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
Last year.
Not much,
Find that figure.
not much.
Yeah.
But it all adds up. I mean, I know we need a new town garage, $35,000 would really help with that, so.
Amen.
all right. Is there any other questions? Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, since you're in the back row,
If you said it.
incognito.
But I guess the concerns I had compared to the library.
You can adjust that, so you
It
don't
was the
have.
same concerns I had on the workload. I think
You're
it's
close
very-
enough. Well, they're been on a bit.
I think it's very important to have a library in the community. I think, it's very challenging and some people, when they're trying to find their, fact finding mission, it's difficult to find out between, public libraries and private libraries, so for instance, ours is a private library, not a public library. So, some towns do, have higher incomes for their public library, but in our case, we're a private one. So there's always kind of that thing back and forth, but getting back to where I was on the board is, so we talked about two things when I was on the board. First thing was our library here in town operates on a shoestring budget. And what value are we getting from that shoestring budget of $50,000 or $60,000? Because we had done some research when we were on the board, and correct me if I'm wrong, a library to function in a community like ours should have a budget somewhere around $125,000 to $150,000 a year to get the full value of what our community needs. The challenges we have with our library is that they had drawn their endowment down to so much that they were on a shoestring budget. So what we had asked from the select board, this will be the third year running now, is a plan. Doesn't mean the plan's got to be enacted today, but what is the plan? What's the 3-year, 5-year? What's your 10-year plan look like? How are we going to get you not just to, we hope that the endowment's going to be at a certain amount to support a shoestring budget. Like, I would like to know, what is it going to take to get our library to the range that we need for our community, which sounds like, from doing research, is $100,000 to $150,000 a year. And once we get to that $150,000 a year, what portion of that does the town need to take responsibility on to have a fully functional library in town, right? And we haven't received that. And I think right now, what I feel like as a taxpayer is that we're just throwing money to a good cause, but what is that money getting us back in the long term? Like, I just feel like we're just kind of plugging a hole, but we don't know the future of this, like we're talking about, we have a lot of things in the town that we need to invest in. And I personally would rather see the library say, hey, we need $130,000 a year to support this library. We can only come up with 60 and we need 70,000 from the town. At least we know what that plan is and how to budget for that. Even if we said, hey, we can't give it all this year, but maybe over the next 3 to 5 years, we can ratchet it up to get to that point. But, we are 3 years into this now, and we have not gotten a plan. Same thing, and I'll add on to, like, when we get to the other ones, like rec committee and things like that. We'll keep asking for money, but where's the plan? Like, I need to see a plan. Like, I think all of us need to see a plan. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
For what it's worth, it actually is a public library, even though it's a 501c3 and it's not a municipal library, it is a public library.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts? All right, we'll move on to the Bethel Area Food Shelf, who are looking for an appropriation request of $30,000. Finn will help you.
So thank you all for coming up here to present. I'm Cindy Metcalf, president of the Bethel Area Food Shelf, and Alyssa Levy is our, I think, the vice president, and she does all of our food procurement. So, we are here again asking for level funding from last year. I would start by saying, I wish I could report that food insecurity has gone down. But what I can report is that it looks like it's kind of holding our own, which is kind of a remarkable situation given what just happened to us in November with our neighbors losing their SNAP benefits for the month of November. We planned for a rush of many more people, and
we stayed pretty level compared to other food shelves. I don't know about the region, but certainly in the urban areas, they saw many more people using the food shelf. Well, as of October this year, we were at 234. And I think I'm at 157 for Bethel. Those were the unique families that used the food shelf in Bethel. And last year we saw 277 families, so kind of on par. We might come in a little bit under, but not by much. We see about 10 new families every month on average, and which is about the same as it was last year. We're an all volunteer run organization. We have no paid staff. And I think that's the thing that I'm proudest most is the number of volunteers from the community that come and support the work. We have close to 75 volunteers in the community. We just got done doing Project Happy Holidays this weekend, and not the same 75 people, but 75 volunteers helped us put together Project Happy Holidays, and we served 37 children, and 50 families with children, and we have another 15 food boxes we'll give away during the holidays. So we have, since we started this during the pandemic, we have always been in a frame of mind of planning for a likely situation that's ahead of us, so that we can respond to our neighbors' needs as they're likely to occur. We were well prepared for the SNAP shutdown. We knew it was going to happen, and so we made the adjustments we needed to make. We wrote a lot of grants this year. We wrote grants in, it's about $13,000 in grants to buy food. The $30,000 that we get from Bethel, the $20,000 we get from Stockbridge, and the 2 that we get from Barnard, and 500 that we get from Pittsfield. It's all money that we use to buy food. We did write a couple of grants in anticipation of what the future holds, because it looks challenging to say the least. So we have put together a task force, all volunteers, and we are looking at what's the situation in our community, what's the reality, and through a 9-month process, through that grant process we got from Ruby Bank, we'll be able to tell a whole lot more about what's going on in the community and how we as a community need to respond. Our mission is to provide food, but there are 5 other root causes of food insecurity. And so we're looking at all of those areas to see, what do we have to be prepared for in the next 5 years. So that's the rundown. You have the report, you have last year's report to compare it to. Happy to ask you. Yes.
Start with, I'm all in favor of helping out those who need. Okay. So having a pet peeve, that was, there's no criteria, everybody go get all the food they want. And I went to Randolph and I went to Royalton, they all do the same thing. What I did find out that was interesting to me was before pandemic, everybody had criteria. Pandemic came along, we dropped it and didn't bring it back. So my concern there is our tax dollars may be, and I'm not there, so I can't say for sure, maybe funding people who really don't need to have that free food. Which, and then that would, it would reduce the need for the amount of money. Also, I'm looking at your financial, and it's 6 lines. That's I guess I was looking for maybe a little more, to cover, donations, volunteerism or, because I know about a lot of it and being a member of the church, I know that you're using part of the church. I don't know how you for electricity or heat or space, but I was kind of hoping to see that those numbers here, to see costs that you might have.
We have that, we got down to, so you posted in the.
Well, I mean, it's 6 lines.
Well, what you're talking about is what you got shut down for the town report, not necessarily what the select board.
Yeah. That's in the whole.
I believe so, yeah.
And it shows $89,504.95 in cash reserves in October. That's almost your whole year's budget. And you already got it in reserve.
So you spoke to. And those numbers back to that. We do have updated numbers for that. We'll also have all of the information that you are requesting that we can provide and I think should provide in the central appropriation.
I mean, I'll say it again, I'm all for those who need to be served. But I'm concerned. I mean, $30,000, it's a penny on the tax rate. No more, a little more than a penny, I believe, right? But as Ben is speaking, 30 here, 35 there, 25 here, pretty soon we're $150,000, which is now a lot of money on a tax rate. So I would like to see more of that information.
So Dave, what were some of the things that were post-COVID or pre-COVID that you saw at other places that
Well,
you're?
they have their staff was not there, that was.
Mhm.
So they couldn't give me that stuff. All they could tell me was we did have criteria. In the pandemic, and now we don't. You can drive in and I need food. And here's a bag, load it up.
Yep.
And they're not, are we confirming the number of household? Right, so we don't confirm it, they just say how many are in the house and then they just get what they need.
Correct. Although, small community, a lot of the time,
Yeah.
the folks who are coming in.
I suppose maybe it's not. I don't know. I wish I had that criteria, because maybe some of those questions were helpful. I don't know.
I stopped in the other night, actually last before I got there, and when the sheriff was there giving out the turkeys, but I was hoping to stop back in and just meet with you and see that.
And I stopped in, you showed me, that back room will feed this town for a month.
From what I saw, it
Back
was,
room, Ted.
it was very nice.
He said he can answer something. He can answer Dave's.
Improve that a little bit better.
And I know you got some of the interns you had in town, gave you a leg up this summer, helped you out with, or maybe it was last summer,
That was the task force. That was
That's,
the beginning of the test.
but anyway, I'm just more complete.
You're doing a great job with what you have, and it's certainly filling a need. And I actually appreciate the no shame in asking for food, right? I think the criteria is great if we're trying to drive a bottom line or whatever, or making sure the right people are getting fed, but at the end of the day, people are coming asking for food. They're already it takes some courage sometimes to do that, so I can appreciate that approach. But at I'm just gonna go back to what I said before, I'd still rather see that be voluntary contributions at the end of the day, rather than funded by the town.
Yeah, I think that there's I think for me, from what I hear, and obviously I'm the one who puts together the majority of the budget, is sometimes it's forced giving. It's basically that a Bethel taxpayer is being told that they're going to give to the library, they're gonna give to the food shelf, they're gonna give to Tri-Val, just picking whoever's on tonight. And what people are saying, what I hear is, as we increase the tax rate and we give more money to anybody, right? Anybody on the appropriation list gets more money, then it drives up the tax rate, thus creating this need. So it's like a vicious cycle. So the older, lady that I know that lives on, in the trailer park, as her tax rate goes, now she needs to get more from the food shelf, whereas if her tax rate dropped, she could probably sustain. But it's like a vicious circle. We're just creating this. We're creating a need. So that's just what I hear, because obviously people come in and pay their taxes, they want to tell somebody. So I hear about it a lot. And Paul Valley, I think, can answer maybe Dave's question. He may have been on the food shelf before.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh,
Of
yeah.
course,
Too loud?
little bit.
How about now?
Good.
Perfect.
A little better?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could speak to Dave's question. I was involved with the food shelf just for a couple of years. And in the past, in order to partake in the groceries down there, you had to show some kind of proof of residency in the town that you were, a fuel bill or a tax bill or something that showed that you were actually a Bethel resident, because we did have the same kind of thing happening before, where folks from Royalton would come in and Randolph or whatever, and we tried to keep it a little more under control by having them show proof of residency. And I guess that's not the case at this point.
Is that a question, Paul?
No,
Okay.
just a
All
same
right.
comment. But I'm going to take the opportunity to grab the mic for a minute, and I want to echo a lot of what I'm hearing, Therese, and what you just mentioned and what Ben is saying. There's no doubt that these organizations do good work. The library, the food shelf, I mean, I was involved with them for 17 years, and it's a great organization. But my concern is the long-range impact, tax impact, like you just mentioned, Therese, especially on the senior citizens in town. They're getting hit from all directions. Social Security went up 2.8%, but also the cost of Medicare Part B went up. The deductible went up. The gap plans are going up. So the Social Security increase has been wiped out before we even start. And I think it's a swirling vortex, like you just mentioned. The more taxes they have to pay, the more need they have to make decisions about food, clothing, and shelter. And they end up going to the food shelf, which does a great job. But I think it's not out of question to ask. I would like to ask both the library and the food shelf to decrease their asks so that we can try to help out the tax, give some tax relief to the seniors, because they're certainly not getting it from Washington, certainly not getting it from Montpelier. So it throws back onto the towns to try to help the senior citizens. And there's a large majority of senior citizens in the town of Bethel. And it's a fact of life that we're getting older and taking on more responsibility to making decisions about food, clothing, and shelter. So I would request that they decrease their ask just to help tamper down that tax base. Therese does a lot of work getting the budget down to that reasonable 3% that we've been trying to shoot for. And I think all the organizations, all of them, have to try to contribute to help knock down the tax burdens for the taxpayers. We're going to be doing that with the Human Services when we meet hopefully this week, the end of this week. Try to keep it under control a little bit. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Really quickly though, do you have the actual number then for the reserves?
For the reserves, yeah. Is it the October number you're referring to?
Sure.
It's the reserves in October are $86,486.81.
So, and that is the year's operating.
And that is the year's operating budget included, and that includes, it's not just the operating budget, that also includes any unforeseen, it includes padding for increased food costs, equipment, any of those things.
So is there a goal to hit where we would no longer contribute if you had a reserves of 2 years?
No. We have not. But we are currently undergoing a strategic planning process, and that's a question that we should ask in that process.
And I mean, if that's Paul's thing, is $5,000 less with 90 in the bank, a make it or break it for the year to try to relieve somewhere in this system?
You have to know the numbers and look at it.
I think it's tough for us to say that we're gonna cut anything this year. I think maybe setting an expectation that doesn't, not just the food shelf, but, all these organizations, think about your plan and how you're gonna find other sources of income, because you can't just count on the town to carry your budgets. So on.
I mean, if you drop $5,000, you could put nothing in there, and ideally, even with contributions of next year, you'd be fine to operate. Ideally, with grants, with donations, there could be $0 on this, and it would run.
So I think the greatest risk to the organization, the work that it's doing for communities that it supports right now, are the programs that are in place that enable us to get in-kind donations from organizations like Shaw's, Willing Hands, and so in-kind is of course completely free. And we track those now. So year to date, we have nearly $43,000 in-kind valued in in-kind contributions. If we were to lose access to those programs, if those programs were to fail for some reason, I am not sure what the food shelf would do in terms of being able to get out into the community the volume of food that it is putting out with the community right now. So I think part of the ask is hedging that risk.
But before Bethel gave any money to the food shelf operated on the full budget. And it was stressful.
And well, before you gave any money to the food shelf, we were serving a lot of people. It's before the pandemic, the number of people that were served for $30 million, and now we're at 277, or at the end of 2000.
And that goes to my point right there. It was 30 before the pandemic. Now you're taking all the criteria out, you're serving 77. I'm not saying that all of that increase was people who
Don't deserve it. Is that what you're trying to say?
might not really need it, that's
Yeah,
what I want to
okay.
say. But I can't believe you can,
But I'm there a lot,
That's a slippery slope.
and
yeah.
folks that you do so. And obviously, you'll see that they are actually.
Yeah.
They're not even some useful, no.
I think that part of your strategic planning should be answer that question. What is the likelihood that you're gonna lose those in kind? What's really the likelihood that Shaw's gonna pull the rug out from under you? What's the likelihood that you're gonna lose that? I think that should definitely be a question that you answer in your strategic funding. Also, as far as besides grant, fundraising opportunities, that sort of thing. Because as we talked about, we'll talk about it more when the general fund budget is a couple items away here. We'll talk a little bit more about that, about, longevity and the things that are coming down the pike for the town.
That's one of the things to consider in this how the food shelf. And part of this grant, there are 8 other food shelves across states with different circumstances than we have. Most of them have paid staff. And, pay rent and pay utilities.
Can I just ask, because I think Alyssa might have it, David brought up, you folks do pay money to the church. It's not like you go there and crank up the heat and turn on all the electric and you pay nothing. There is an amount, I don't know if you have it there with you, because I remember I volunteer there occasionally. And it was brought to my attention by somebody a year or so ago that somebody from the church is like, oh, the food shelf doesn't ever give us any money. I'm like, oh, well, I can answer that question. I didn't know the amount, but I could say, yes, they do. Because you guys aren't down there all willy-nilly.
Estimate that based on the cost of electricity. And fuel. We also did this year receive a grant to install a heat pump for free. And so that has also really alleviated some of the, hopefully, our understanding was that that was going to alleviate a lot of the demands in terms of utilities. And it also does help to keep the space better temperature controlled in the summer as well as the winter, so that we're not, losing food, losing perishable items to just temperature fluctuations.
I've got to step in on that because that's my trade, electrician. The watt is a watt, the watt, BTU is BTU, BTU. I don't care what's oil, electricity you're having, it takes X to keep the place. It doesn't really matter how you do it, it's gonna cost you X. So whoever told you it was gonna alleviate some of your financial needs. I'm not gonna say the word, but I don't believe it to be true.
This is happening on provide $4,000 a year to the church in the form of good faith contributions for utilities and uses.
Okay, I mean, I guess I thought I was gonna see something more than this.
And we should provide, we will provide more.
So I have a question. I know that the Church of Latter-day Saints makes a large donation, either in food or cash. And how do you take that in? Does that show up on your financials as a donation or an in-kind, or I know it's sizable?
We got a very large donation to someone.
Yep.
And we since doing the fresh rescue program with SHAWs, we learned that the food bank values the weight. So we weigh the food that comes into SHAWs, and it's I think it's $1.97. Yeah.
So do the,
So
I
we
know the
did-
churches, the local churches used to run the food shelf. So do you get donations from the contributions from the Catholic Church and other churches?
We get sustainable donations.
Nice.
Some we get, we collaborate with them to make food and we distribute the food.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a nice partnership with the church.
Nice.
So can we get more when we do this again?
Yeah, we'll add it to the agenda again next 2 weeks.
The last time we did this, we provided graphs of,
Yeah.
how, and we can do that again.
And I do, if there are any questions about numbers year to date for any of those other categories, grants, donations, that kind of thing, I do have those, yeah.
We'll just do it by part, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for everything you're doing, and it does say a lot that you have all volunteer staff.
And I must say, if someone that has volunteered and was on the board for a year or two, that these two women here put in an inordinate amount of free time. Alyssa, I always call her the financial guru, because she's in the back and all the pricing that she does. And if one thing is 2 cents an ounce cheaper, that's what we're gonna buy. Instead of just saying, let's just go down to Hannaford's or Walmart or BJ's and just get whatever we can. It's all strategically laid out. So that's my 2 cents.
You work with the other local one to do volume buying, don't you?
That is something that we've been trying to do in the 3 years that I've been volunteering with the food shelf. To figure out some kind of arrangement to do.
One's 8 miles north.
Correct, and we work,
South.
yep, and we do work very closely with Randolph, and as part of the task force that we're working on right now, a big part of that, so we have 3 working groups that comprise that task force. And one is looking specifically at internal systems and these operational systems to see how we can better partner with regional food shelves to get access to wholesale programming, wholesale pricing, I do all of the procurement for the Bethel area food shelf and have had multiple conversations with Walmart, Hannaford, Target, BJ's, all of the different organizations that we, or all of the different retailers that we work with to bring food in. And wholesale pricing is not something that has been made available to us, even with 501(c)(3) status. We're hoping that the, really, really.
Some of those guys are big, we have a lot of hours to spend.
We do. Yes, we do. We have general managers in these places who are very helpful in working with us to ensure that we're able to get the items that we need on a weekly basis, much of the time. But I think that we need, you know, to your point, we need more of a collaboration and a network arrangement to access wholesale pricing. And it's something that will have to be done at the corporate level of those companies rather than with just the, you know, the local retailers that we shop at in West Lab.
You're working on.
But we are working on it.
All right. Any more questions?
Not tonight.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And now we'll jump into Tri-Valley Transit with their appropriation of $7,600.
I think Tom and Mike are here, right?
Yep.
Yay.
Hiding in the back.
Thank you. So, you all know Tom Burgos, he's served for a long time and
Yep.
Mike Reader, all right, I never say it right. I'm like, you know, it's your, yeah. So, he works for Tri-Valley Transit and I think in my email I'd sent maybe Tom and I'd asked one of the questions, and I believe it was Jordan who'd asked, and I think I gave you the heads up of that, was a question about, when you count Bethel riders, are those also the school riders? Because we're under the impression that the school used to, maybe they continue to give you money to cover those riderships. So I think there was a question about how those are called out separately. So I tried to give you a heads up on that.
They're separate.
Yeah, that was the only question that I had to give you a heads up on in advance.
Those are separate. Both the ridership numbers and the funds are considered separate.
Well, I know that the funds from the school was it wasn't like their payment, it was a donation, right? It wasn't their part of it.
Yeah, so I mean, we consider them an institutional partner that provides a contribution to support the public bus service. So it's not.
Is that a suggested contribution?
It is a suggested contribution. We base that, you know, I think as you guys know, we have a very careful fair share formula to determine our town request. For our institutional partners, so it's kind of a newer pursuit for us. Really over the last few years where we've reached out to more partners to support our service. And we haven't really honed in on a specific formula to determine what the contribution could or should be, but generally the hours of service that particular institution uses of our groups and look at our hourly rates and how that, you know, how that fits in with us.
So do you serve just, or maybe this is beyond that, do you serve the whole supervisor union as a group, or do you just service to, White River Valley?
We serve
We don't
all
mind.
of Orange and Northern Windsor County under our service.
The education part of it.
And the education part, yes, we have stops at White River Valley Schools, we have stops at Sharon Academy Schools. You know, we even have minimal, but a few riders that go to schools in Hanover, Hanover, Lebanon area. So it's, you know, I think school, you know, service to schools is part of our service, much like it is to employers and hospitals and other institutions, organizations.
And then our boarding numbers, the 2,162 boardings at the Bethel bus stops. including exit 3. I was just wondering. Yeah, why?
When the exit 3 park and ride was constructed a few years back, it really was a replacement for our white church stop that really served the commuters from Bethel, as opposed to people coming up from Royalton. We've generally found that our Royalton-based riders are either board our limited service to Royalton South or drive south to the Sharon Park and Ride. With our destinations, our primary destinations being in the Hanover, Lebanon, White River Junction area, as employment centers. People are driving those few miles to get closer to their workplace rather than backtracking.
Although right now, how long has the Sharon Park and Ride been closed?
And it's back open again.
Oh, okay, that was
Thankful.
just that.
So they're registered riders, so like you have the actual documentation showing that.
Folks and see where they're coming from. We do not track our public riders, where they're from. We use the stops as a proxy. Determination for where their residents would be.
Maybe spread into Orange County, is that new over the last? Did you take over a new area like in the last? years, like-
No, we've been consistently serving Orange County. Washington County is
That's it.
what we are, we're in the process of, and Tom could probably speak more of that, serving in our committee for that expansion, but.
Do you think that's gonna help you overall and maybe bring costs down, or, I mean, is there any thought? I'm just curious.
our last merger,
No, right?
our merger with Madison County Group
Yeah,
strengthened the organization.
good, yeah.
And, in terms of economies of scale and just more power to recruit people.
Mhm.
It's just a stronger organization.
Nice, yeah. I'd say my mother-in-law's an adamant user and a regular user in Addison County. She's in her late 80s and she'll make her doctor's appointments and she'll do the volunteer riders and she can't say enough about the organization and always seems to get her. So it is a nice feature that Tri-Valley offers. It's not just the bus, but if you need to get to appointments, you can schedule. There's a lot of volunteer riders and she said, it's very nice. So, yeah.
Work today, I'm gonna work tomorrow.
And you get a stipend, right?
Just get my mileage.
Just the mileage, yeah. I know somebody had said something to her but it's really, I mean, for seniors, that's a really good service, especially for people that, if their adult children are working. Is something, if people aren't aware of it, call, and we certainly will say that, give people your information so they can call and figure out, but it's nice to know that it'll strengthen the organization. I was curious about
I'm working with the volunteer drive.
Yeah, and then, so of course, try out, this is 11 month class too. We've been trying to play catch up with them for a while. I think that happened last year, right? So.
Right, and I think we're going to be part of our growth. And not only will we talk about that, we're taking another look at that fair share formula. Say some of the way some state funds have shifted around, some programs that were grant funded are now in our operating budget. So kind of, I was thinking of this kind of broke our formula, where those percentage shares got knocked off of anything reasonable to come back into for the town's floor. I think under our old current, but the with ship formulas we've been using, it brings Bethel down to 61%, 62%, where we were at 100% last year. And we recognize that it's not appropriate to be coming back to towns looking for additional 40-50% increases this year, but that's more than any of the local towns can sustain. we are working with some consultants to help us with our resource development, come up with some new programs and new designs for fundraising. You know, 80% of our funds, roughly 80% of our funds come from state and federal sources, but that 20% remaining match coming from local communities is vital, so we can draw down on those funds and access that.
Yeah, and I did notice on your page there with a 7,600 contribution allows TBT to access an additional 30,400 in grant funding for 4 times local match. That is amazing that you can get a 4 times local match.
For us to be in and for, you know, for the town that we deserve to be in to support that.
I assume those are government grants, federal and state government. So we're still paying for it.
Yeah. Anyone else have questions or thoughts? Chris?
There you go. So do we charge at all for fare for people to ride? Because I know, like, doing some research on it, like St. Bernard, for instance, we charge the riders. However, they do have multiple riderships, like some will be like a reduced rider, you know, if they've shown a set fee. Some actually could be free, some would be reduced, or some would be a normally charged. I just kind of just one, you can charge, and two, why don't we have that looked at as a possibility for people that can pay, because you could do like other models just done where you could have a full pay and reduced pay and a free service. That could, you know, again, no, I'm a believer, a lot of social services should be paid by, you know, others and not necessarily taxpayer money, so. I don't know if you guys are looking at that.
Yeah, we are fare free. We had, similar to what Chris was suggesting in the past before COVID, we had, different fares for different services. Our commuter routes had small fares attached to them. Our local circulator service did not. It's a lot more focused on serving people that specifically did have these older people with disabilities, and this is service that's happening weekdays from 9 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, it's a lot more focused around getting to the grocery store and getting to the doctor's appointment. When the pandemic started, we dropped our fares, primarily out of concern for the interaction between drivers and riders, getting on the bus and trying to, you know, keep our safe personal distances and all of that. And quickly realized that it was also a real human service need to provide the service. People are losing jobs, people's financial futures being called into question, and we were well supported by the federal government. So we were able to take those fares away. In the ensuing years, we have not brought that back. The state legislature has helped reference Burlington. GMT brought fares back to their urban service. It's the way that's structured within the public transit in the state. It's kind of a whole separate program from all the rural programs that are in the rest of the state. And so the legislature provided some additional funds to the rural services to allow them to remain fare free. So yes, we're paying for it through our state taxes, but that is a free fare for the riders. And as far as ourselves looking at whether or not it makes sense to bring fares back to provide service, to provide that financial support, we've realized a lot of benefits to having it being fare free. Increase in ridership. You know, once you start charging money, harder for people to use it. Quite honestly, the amount of time and staff time that it takes, both between drivers on the road collecting $2 fares and an electronic payment infrastructure that we would put in place, people to count money, to develop passives to be, it's a lot more expense than we ever really brought in. So, without looking at every specific little detail, it's quite possible that it would cost us more money to implement theirs than it would bring in. And would take the, take the time off of the routes and make them less efficient as well. So, so we remain fare free and until and unless those conditions change, we intend to remain fare free moving forward. We are kicking off a contribution campaign, a donation campaign, displaying signage on our buses, particularly geared at commuters, to help support our programs. Hey, you've been riding without fares for the last couple of years. We're not looking at bringing those back, but kind of the public radio model. Yes, it's a free service, but if you can afford to support it and help.
So is that gonna be like, if you have signage there, is it gonna be like an online, so people can just use their, oh, okay, and donate that way, so that's good. Yeah.
So the 2,162 that use the bus out of Bethel, that doesn't include the school stop at all.
Are, I'll say I don't have the ridership broken out for each of our stops for you, but honestly, our school stops, the more popular ones is not the Bethel schools. We do a lot more with the high school in Loyalton. There's a lot of students coming from the Rochester and Stockbridge area. Is really where the bulk of that student ridership is coming from.
And do you have the amount that the school donated this last year?
The school contribution, since we started that with them, it's been $38,000. My understanding, I haven't discussed with Jamie where that money is coming from, but the first year of our partnership, I believe we're in our third year now, was grant funds. So it was not coming from the tax base, but I don't know if that's.
And does that money qualify for the local match?
When you do your kickoff, if you send us that information for your, we're happy to put on our website, from or our Facebook page, whatever, help, or increase, donations. We do that we did Project Happy Holidays, we stuffed it in envelopes to do mailers. So, but if you have something like that, or that you want to go on to want us to help put out.
As Tom mentioned, some of our staffing challenges. I was a community relations manager with Tri-Valley Transit for 6 years and moved into the regional director position with our Orange Northern Windsor office here just about a year ago. And it's been a real challenge to fill that position. We found a great candidate, lasted a few weeks, decided it wasn't really her cup of tea, moved on, but we've got another new person in that position. So some of those connections and recruitment for riders, we really look at picking that up here in the next year moving forward. So looking forward to bringing up those numbers and.
Because I don't know, are your schedules on the website?
They are.
And we have little pamphlets for the town office that we give out in case somebody didn't have any information. They don't call these folks. So.
When the match happens on the 7,600 that we put in, do they put in 30,400 to that 76 and it comes out to 38,000?
Those are unknown numbers.
You mean the school or the federal match that we're talking about?
The federal match that goes to the local.
Yeah, I think it's a little more tied up in our grant fund. We annually apply to the state trend for funding along with the transit providers in the state, public transit providers. So they take the funds that they're getting from the FTA, they combine their state funds and they make the awards with the local transportation providers. So if we're going to access 100% of the funds granted, we have to come up with that 20% match. So it's not so much that, you know, we turn in 7,600 and they give us 30,000. It's just that we have to show those matches through the year to be able to draw down all of those funds. If we weren't able to raise that 20%, we wouldn't be able to access the full 80% total, 80%
That's the
of.
way it is with a lot of our grant.
Yeah.
It's the same way. We have a match, 10, 15, 20, same. We can't give all of our, we're not getting all that.
And that's operating funds. Our capital grants are a whole different award system.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, gentlemen, for coming in.
Thanks. Thanks.
All right, is there any public comment right now?
Joanne Wood.
Yep.
Stand up.
You're good.
Just real quick, I don't get out and drive much in the evening anymore, but I did want to make an effort to come tonight, and I just, couple of thoughts. Coming down Church Street, seeing all the lights on the houses and the tree lit up. And the beauty of this building with the candles, the windows, the lights downtown, I just want to just say how happy it makes me to be able to say that this has been my home for 2 years. And I also, you know, I wanted to say this at the very beginning, but I'm glad that kind of is happening now after all of this discussion. Because I think a lot of what makes a town vibrant and happy and a wonderful place to live are the kinds of things that we've heard about tonight. Libraries, food shelves, Project Happy Holidays, people volunteering, people helping their neighbors. And I know that there's so many difficult choices that have to be made. And I think it's all a matter of balance. We want our town to be a place that people want to live in and move to. And to have that kind of attraction for new people to support our taxes and to increase the rents. I think things like these public services, the library, the rec center, the food, all of these kinds of things are vitally important. Thank you.
Thank
The
you,
next
Joanne.
time you see Stevie Neron,
Yes.
just say thank you. He is, you know, big with the lights and he, God bless him. He does a lot of the work, and of course Kathy Day and
Matthew
Matthew
Mears, he helped
yeah,
out.
and Stevie done a bunch this year because Kathy was doing stuff and so was Deidre, but he, you know, he does such a great job.
He and Matt were carrying a big, long ladder down Main
Yeah.
Street earlier
Yeah.
last week.
They're, you know, so it's really nice that they do that. So I'm sure if you've seen it, he'll be so.
How about that big peace sign out on River Street, huh?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
It's been here for a while. I like that one. Any other public comment? All right, we'll shift into gear. A little discussion on the general fund budget.
So we have, so the budget at this point is still very similar to the way it was at the end of the last meeting. So we're still, Human Services Advisory Board is, you know, is meeting, but you know what? Wait, I just want to say something, Cindy, before you leave. Is one of the things that we're gonna talk about, like now, but also it'll be in the town report, but we'll be talking about at town meeting. Is, you know, a lot of times when we do the budget report is about what we've done in the past year. But this year, when I write the budget report, we're gonna kind of focus on like what's coming. So one of the things is obviously is a new town garage. You know, they sent me a video the other day, there's water pouring out by one of the lights in the back and
Walls.
my estimate for that is 1.5 million, and I'm hoping I can get it for that, you know, so also too, one of the other things to think about is beside the town garage coming, you know, that's one of the reasons we're always so like every nickel counts. So the town garage, that would be coming, that's a necessity, the metal from the garage, this is well lived past its life, this is really just rotting on the bottom. The other thing is, if you look at the town budget and you look at revenues, this is the last budget that's going to have the sale of the transfer station in it. That is $54,000 that's gonna go away, that we're going to have to make up. I know that we have a couple of bond payments coming off, you know, one in like 28 and one in 31. They are not going to cover the amount of a new town garage. They're just not, because we paid those down, so a lot of it really is just left as principal. So when we, you know, talk about budgets, and I'm sure people feel like they're being grilled, and, you know, I'm grilling the staff, I'm like trying to comb through money, but every little bit helps. And so when we're talking about the future, and when Ben's talking about sustainability, and we're talking about, you know, the effect on older folks, I don't have the luxury of looking at just this year. I have to keep looking. And so that's one of the things that, you know, that we're talking about, that we're going to see these hits. And, you know, in this round of the budget, I have the ERAF, which is to pay off Sugar Hill. So yay, we're at our final, knock on wood, you know, project for FEMA, but we flood again, then, you know, ERAF, that's our 12.5% keeps coming. So it's just something that, yeah, exactly. So when you're thinking about it, when the library's doing their, you know, financial planning, that's what we're doing. And so it's not that we want to cut services, it's just that we see this stuff coming that we have to do. And that's where it just, I want people to know that.
We leverage resources to the community that wouldn't otherwise be here if we didn't do that.
Yeah.
We are all feeling these
The pinch.
situations that
Yeah.
are down the road that we have to plan for. And,
Exactly.
you know,
And-
we've, you
And
know,
we're all
I'm
doing the same thing,
I'm
leveraging
hoping
grant
that-
money,
I'm
leveraging.
hoping that our task force will come up with a solution to having to depend on taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. We're gonna go through a process, but, we may have a proposal that,
Yeah. So I just want everybody to be on this. I don't want people to, oh my God, they're trying, you know, it's not, we're after everybody. That's not, at least I am, you know, when I go through the budget, because I know what's coming.
Yeah.
And, you know, you know, the prices building and what we're doing. And so that's all. I just, yeah. Yeah, if all of it went away, it's just figuring out how we can, you know, and, you know, it's like we have this much need and this much money. And so that's the struggle that, you know, we have and that, you know, we do on a regular. So I just thought it might help you if you knew what I knew, what was coming, and another phase of the water project. So there are things coming in the next few years that are coming. And so I just thought it might help you all to know what I know. So that's all. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the way it goes. So, and I will, when we do the budget summary this year, we'll talk about that, but also part of that is going to be about what's coming, just so people can, you know, I just want educated voters voting on the budget when they come to town meeting. And yeah, we are. Exactly, because we're all pulling out of the same wallet.
Mhm.
So that's it. I just, thank you.
Well, maybe we get Congress to think like that.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
all the unfunded mandates coming down.
It's a bridge too far. So as far as the budget goes, we know that we're waiting on Human Services Advisory Board. I've talked to Paul and he told you earlier that they have a meeting hopefully scheduled for this Friday. So Paul knows that I have a hold on that. I just put a level fund number in there just as a placeholder. So that's, you know, still in there. One of the other things is going back, you know, is obviously we need to talk about, which is the policing and where we're gonna, how we're gonna do that. If 40 it's staying at 38 hours kind of is, holding the budget where it is. I think that I've come up with leaving the police budget where it is. Once we know what's going on with human services, I've just level funded it, but I'm at, over last year, I'm at like 2.76 over in expenditures and 2.73 over last year to be raised by taxes. So, there's a couple things, that we, the ERAF, is our share of, Sugar Hill. I've done that over 2 years. We could do it over 3 years. I mean, it's what's really focused this year, I think, for us is that 54,000 that we're gonna lose out of the transfer station that's a big hit when it comes. And, what we can do this year to save, is gonna help, next year, because otherwise it's, a pretty big hit.
Huge.
Yeah, so, I don't know if anybody has any, questions or comments or, about the budget or ideas, that'd be great. Paul, I see you. Go ahead.
Oh, and I'm remiss. I wanted to welcome Jed aboard the good ship Bethel.
The good
You're gonna
ship
do-
Bethel,
You're gonna do a great job, I'm sure. Well, welcome aboard.
Battery hang on.
did you have another question?
Well, I just wanted to comment on the
Oh.
police. I went back and looked at all the reports starting from the new 36-hour started in July. So I looked at the reports that you folks have gotten in your packets since then. And I don't think you've collected anywhere near enough information to say that it had a significant impact. I would suggest level funding it at the 36 that's there now, and maybe even take a couple of hours off, and that would save about $8,000 for the taxpayers, which would be a good thing too, for just a couple of hours. So that's my 2 cents on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Right, anyone else have any more discussion on the budget? I know we hit it pretty hard last week. Yep, Chris?
It's not finalized yet, but how much did the grand list go up after reappraisal?
Let's see, remember, sorry. Don't look over this gentleman. So let's see, I'm not sure if I have the text.
Chris might have it.
Yeah, I think you have it, right, Chris? Do you have the numbers from, I can't remember. I'm looking.
Yeah, and the new grand list is a little over 3.3 million. The old grand list was
I'm looking, see if I-
2.4
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't have the new, the old one, but probably like 800,000 or 900,000.
Yeah, I think that's
whatever.
seems about
So,
right.
So percentage.
27% or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, but so anyways, yeah, so that was the, as we said, I was just saying to, what you heard me say was about what's coming, some of the expenses, and I am still waiting to hear back from the Conservation Commission. Farron had wanted to go back from 1,500 to their 2,500, and I'd emailed them back and said, look, you don't have a project on the horizon, do you? Because if you don't, the select board would like to keep you at 1,500. Mary came in, but I was out, so I'm waiting to see, where she's at, to hear what she has to say. So, I'm just always trying to claw back a little bit.
Yep.
So just kind of looking through the, not to get into the weeds here too much, but, a couple of the big things, I mean, the revenues are up 15,000, the cost is up 89,000, so there's a net increase of $74,000 in the current proposed budget, which, for it, what does that mean for me? That means, about 2.3 cents, which is about $60 a person based on a $250,000 home. So could be higher, could be lower. A lot of us are higher now, but I guess a couple of the questions I do have, and some of it has been echoed already, is, the two biggest challenges I see with the town right now in the budget is you have the ERAF, which, yes, we are in our final project of some flooding, but there will be more projects coming.
Yeah,
One thing I would like to see from the town is to establish an ERAF fund,
I agree.
that even when we're done paying off, that we can continue to put money towards that, so that when we do have these issues, we're not having to ask for a lot more type money.
Yeah.
On average, we're somewhere in the $35,000 to $60,000
Yeah,
on paying.
Yeah, we've
ERAF.
gone from 44 to 70 to 50 to 36, and like I said, that's over 2
So,
years.
so it's one of these things that
I
even next year at this time, we'll start thinking like, hey, we don't have any more projects. But it's not just as easy to say, let's take it down to zero, because at some point, we all know that,
Yeah.
I
agree.
3-year average in Bethel, we get a flood.
Yeah.
right?
So rather than continuing to build the general fund, actually put some aside for these type of projects.
Yeah, set up another capital fund, so instead of just capital roads, capital building, which is, create one for, like, basically for flooding, which is, we have a fund for that, but right now, we're kind of, it's empty, so.
Utilized?
Yeah, so I think that makes sense, and that's something we've talked about for a while, because again, it helps you keep from this yo-yo of, when we're trying to hug tight to that less than 3%, it helps if we build continuity, so I agree with that.
And
We're
not to
still-
scare
we still gotta
everybody,
pay
but-
off Sugar Hill, so.
And not to scare everybody, but it seems like, maybe things will change in 3 more years, but the current administration in Washington is looking to, not even want to pursue FEMA related
Right.
activities unless they're major events. So, I mean, right now, we're talking about, our 12.5%.
Yeah.
But that could end up being much more money. So I think, I think it's a good idea that we, let's, we can construct a permanent fund and then be able to start putting a lot of money in there.
Yeah.
And then like talked about, the sale of the transfer station, which was good, income for us, which we knew was going to sunset, which it is. It's $54,000. And what I would really hate to see is for us to all of a sudden say, we need to find $54,000. Which $54,000 is roughly 2 pennies, so that is about what your whole budget is going up this year, like all of
Yep.
a sudden you will have to find that money, or ask for more funds. What I would propose is trying to find some way to cut that in half this year. So where can we find savings in this budget that is $28,000 that we can move the needle towards being neutral when this sunsets? Some proposals after we do the budget that I would just throw out there. Again, I just kind of level funded the sheriff's department. I agree with Paul that, I think it's a little too early to kind of exactly what we are getting out of that. I will say that lately I don't see them writing a lot of tickets. It's just my opinion, and I do see them quite often because I live pretty close to here. But it's kind of hard to like, what are we really getting out of that? I'd kind of like to see a little bit longer period of time to gauge, like, do we need to increase that, decrease it, or whatnot? But just based upon what was currently
Yep.
in your budget, I came up about $18,000 with the stuff that I could just find out. It was kind of easy without making a hard decision, which was gas, oil, and grease. I think you can chop another $3,000 out of that. It's based on the historical
Are you talking
amounts
fire or
in public works.
highway, gas,
Um,
oil, grease?
Dave, every year, about $10,000 in gravel.
No,
And the reason why I say that is, often you can balance your gravel budgets with winter maintenance budgets. So if you also notice that our sand, even though we're asking for whatever, $70,000.
Yep.
Historically, we've only been in the 50 or 55. So there's opportunities there. If you don't use your sand budget, you can put that back in your gravel budget.
Yeah, but also
Um,
too, they have a price hike of 5% January 1st.
And I'm well aware of it, Dave. Like, I did the math on this, and if we were in a perfect world and we wanted to maintenance our gravel roads, we need $200,000 or $300,000.
$376,000.
So we don't have. So, however,
It just-
3 years ago, if you look back in the budget we were at, 30,000. So,
Right.
you know, we can't,
That's why we need some money.
we can't build Rome in a day, right? So it's gonna take time to move the needle. I think, you know, $90,000 is pretty appropriate to have for gravel budget at this time. And then I figured, you know, when we're talking about the capital reserve and our big project at this point is to battle the garage.
Yeah.
Is, you know, maybe you could chop 5 or 10 grand out of the capital reserve this year, because when you go, you're gonna have to bond it. And
I know.
5 or 10 grand on
Yeah.
a $1.2 million bond is
Yeah.
not even.
Remember, it's not just for the garage, that's for the fire department, the
Right.
town hall, the, you know, whatever other
So I
stuff,
mean,
but.
you could, you
I
know,
can-
by doing those type of things, you could be, you know, kind of in the $23,000 in
Yep.
savings, getting back close to that.
Mhm.
Because if not, like you were saying, you're gonna have to come up with it. If it's not this year, then it'll be all of next year. And I do really think that we need to keep the ERAP, and, you know, be nice to see that on the warning as a, I believe we have to warn that for a. for a
We
fund.
would, in a couple of years, yeah, for sure, yeah, we would have to do that, so, minus, I'm just gonna say the
So you
minus.
think in 2 or 3 years for the ERAF that we're doing right now?
Currently, right now, the
Where-
ERAP,
You
is-
have
this
one
is-
per year, right?
yeah, this would be, yeah, hang on, it's a capital building
Yeah.
reduction.
So this, what you're in this budget is half of what we,
Yeah,
you're gonna have another 36,000
yep,
before we can have the
Yeah.
ability, hopefully,
yeah,
to start saving. some
exact.
money.
I mean, we still have capital roads, I mean, obviously, so there's some money there too, but yes, that's the plan, and it's like. One of those things, right? Do you spread the ERAF over 2 years? We've spread it over 3 years
Right.
before, you know, where it's always, but we're going to pay it eventually, so. But yeah, so that's the same. You know, same process, you know.
You can pay me now, or you can pay
Maybe
me
later,
later.
yeah, but I'll look at those, Chris, I'll look at capital building and. So, thank you. I
What
agree.
did we pay on policing prior to the sheriff?
Well, let me look at.
Went up, went up.
Not much.
Not much, but.
Not much,
let me
yeah.
look back, cause I can see, all right, back in, you know, if you look at the law enforcement page, you can see that we budgeted like 29,000 in 23-24. We had a constable at the time and we only ended up paying about 3 grand because we had a constable, but he had a full-time job somewhere else. So we couldn't get him to work the hours, and then. We ended up hiring, that's where contract services goes up a little, goes up from 531,000 because we brought the sheriff in to pick up some of the hours, because, we really just hadn't had great luck with contracts. Because, you know, they have to pay the bill, so they work somewhere else, and, then at first we were doing well at first with the constable that we had at the time, because he had a couple part-time gigs, but then when he went full-time with Royalton, obviously, we're not, you know, we can't be his main priority. And so that's when we decided we would start contracting with the sheriff's office, because Orange County is not an option.
Right.
VSP, the commander's lovely, and all 3 of them have come to tell us, you know. No, we can't, you know, especially now, VSP is dealing with a lot of Burlington calls during the day. So, you know, it's tricky, so they don't really do town contracts as much as they used to, so that's how we ended up with the sheriff's office.
I certainly have no complaints. I mean,
No, but that's how we ended
you
up.
know where I live.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's where we ended up, and one of the things too, and I don't remember if you were here, or not possibly, but that they did level fund their hourly rate. They were, I think we hired them originally, they were 65 and now they're 75, and they did hold that rate last year and this year. Nice, so.
And then when we hired them, I am under the impression that we all appreciated that they were giving warnings and they weren't just every car you can buy, ticket.
Exactly.
And now we want ticket.
Mhm.
And ever since I had a conversation with him a couple weeks ago, that's their new motto in town. This is now Bridgewater, ticket,
Mhm.
everything. And I feel like that's gonna come back as a problem. And people are gonna be upset that they're ticketing for 5, 10 over and there's no more warnings and. And it's just making everybody happy. But. You know, what do we want out of it? And we just changed that model to now we want tickets.
Well, we said, when we first hired them, we did say, cause I think it was Chris and I that met
Yeah.
with Brian, and we did say in the beginning, ease into it and a lot of warnings, but now this isn't their first year here. So obviously, I mean, if somebody's going 3 to 5 over, I mean, I can see warnings, but they also know who they're warning, because if you're familiar with their software at all, when they run that license or that plate, they know how many warnings that person has already been given. And, when people are going, 10 and over, then it's a no brainer. So I'm not looking to create us as, I don't know anything about Bridgewater, so I can't say it almost to be the ticket capital of Windsor County, but I do think it's appropriate that they, that they could still come up with, $5,000 or whatever a year and to 7 in ticket revenue. I mean, I just don't think that's untenable, but no, I don't want to see them ticketing every person for every tiny infraction. But I mean, if we look back at their history, you can see how many warnings they
Yeah,
get.
there's a lot.
But we did say that we want them because we want community policing, so people feel that they can talk to people as, things come up. And certainly one of the ideas that you and I talked about was, as we get consistency with the deputy, that also helps too. So, but no, I think they're doing a good job. And Ryan came out the day after you talked to him. The sheriff himself was on Camp Brook, and we got a nice email I forwarded to you from Joanne Marshall, and I got other phone calls. People were really happy to see him. One of the road crew guys, I think it was Gabriel Feeney, was like, "Hey, sheriff's pulling everybody over." It's the actual sheriff. So news traveled fast. So that was nice that Ryan did that.
And then I'll drop back to when we did have the constable. I mean, I remember catalytic converters being cut off right here in the parking lot.
Yeah,
Drug deals going down in front of the sandwich shop, and I mean, there's just
Yeah.
drug dealers everywhere, drug addicts everywhere.
Yeah.
There's like just this wild west of
yeah.
everybody's doing what they want.
I
Do you
don't think
suppose
they-
it goes right back to that though?
Yeah.
Say you had 10 hours, 5 hours less. Do you suppose it just
No,
like a light switch?
doubt it.
I doubt
But
it.
as it eases up, and
Right.
the neighbors around us are spending 500,000 on policing. It's much easier to sit right here and commit crime than it is to go north or south where their budget is
Right, again, I'm not complaining.
500-600
Yeah.
grand.
I
Well,
think
no, and let's be clear, Randolph has a police department, as does Royal. Bethel does not have a police department, so we don't obviously have that type of budget. I don't think anybody's anti-police. I mean, we're all just saying, for me,
I was-
it's the number.
For the, what have they done? I think that's wild.
Yeah, well, I think it's more of
What
a,
have they done for us is,
I mean, they
a lot.
certainly have done a lot of drug enforcement and ticketing, and I mean, people are happy to see them. And then you heard the complaints we had last week, which isn't gonna happen. You know what, Jordan, is happening. It happened when we had constables. It happens, so.
Chris said, his hand up.
I mean, I think a lot of the issues that we had in Bethel, for a point, was that we didn't really have this. Like you have to have some sort of deterrent, right? It might not be a $500,000 a year deterrent, but you have to have something. And when we didn't have a deterrent for a couple of years, really because we were making that transition from a constable, we thought we had a constable, but they weren't literally doing many hours, is exactly what happens is, hey, we'll move into Bethel because it's an easier target, right? But we also can't fool ourselves on what the sheriffs really do for us. Like, the sheriffs are not there. Yes, they go to the photo ops when they get somebody bad in town, but that's not their duty. Like, they're not on our watch going after drug dealers. They're on our watch doing speed control and having a presence. I was gonna say, well, I'll argue that. It's all about Christian Hill. I'm saying is. Go down that side road in excess of 70 miles per hour. My mailbox, been saying, okay, they can't even make the corner. Okay, so I'm saying I would like to see more tickets be an issue, because there is a high rate of speed. As soon as they get to Dennis Woods Place, from there to the corner is as fast as they can carry their little vehicle. Which happens to be a lot of souped up trucks. And they go that way very quickly. And I've looked at the reports and all I see is, you know, whatever, 4,225 warning. That's not a warning, that's a ticket. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not a law enforcement. Like, 30 and a 25 is a ticket. Is a warning. Like 42 and, you know, or 25, how is that not a ticket? Or 62 and a 35, I mean, that's crazy, and I see that on the reports, like, those are automatic tickets, like, that's a no-brainer. You know, regardless of who it is, and that's why I'm saying, like, it's too. When we brought them on full time at the beginning, like, even though we told them to ease into it, we saw a lot of results, like, I was seeing quite a bit of results. They were writing tickets when it was appropriate. We're seeing that, even though I don't think it's directly involved, but, you know, we see the drug activity and some of the busts and stuff going on. But I'll tell you, like, from this summer on, I haven't really seen that same, like, you know, Kung Pao, we're out here, like, knocking on doors stuff, like, it seems very lackadaisical.
Is that because it's cleaned up though? I mean, I think it has.
Well, there's a lot of things that are right now, I mean, it's not just policing, but, you know, right now, heroin and fentanyl is harder to get right now. Because it's being cracked down on
How would you know?
federally. So that, I was just watching a report. So like, you know, so it's harder to get their hands on right now. So, you know, they're coming up obviously with new drugs and things, but, you know, there's a lot of things that just having enforcement, like, we have to have enforcement in the town. But I don't need to know if we need to blow our brains out with, you know, having, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of policing either. I think there's a happy medium, and I don't think we've had enough data to move that needle higher. But
I agree. I think we should approach it cautiously because I even saw that in the town meeting last year, that even though it was approved, there was still, it was probably one of the only votes where there was actually nays audible in the room. And I agree, there needs to be law enforcement. We need to enforce laws and deter crime. The whole speeding thing, I'm a little bit on the fence. I know I've said that a few times. Like, I like the warnings, I like the visible presence. I don't like harassing people with tickets. Sure, if they're doubling the speed limit, you know, let the officers use or deputies use their discretion. But I don't think that should be why they're in town. I like the idea of being a visible presence and deterring crime, but not harassing people who aren't criminals. Civil infractions does not make you a criminal.
Right.
So we should be combating crime and not encouraging road piracy, as I like to call it.
I also think that Jordan's idea of getting, the deputies, sheriffs of whatever, into the school is a good idea. That was a big success with Oscar when he was our constable. I think Jordan even mentioned his kids really liked him, and they invited him to go to a play or something, and he went, and so I just think, yeah, that was
They
what.
had somebody over that had a kid in the car, and the kid invited them to the school concert, and he followed them to school and went in and participated in the concert.
Yeah, so I do, and Jordan's hoping to, talking about getting them in there for lunch, you know, and stuff, because they cut the DARE program, so I think that's a great idea too, is, you know, kids need to see policing in a positive light, and they may not always hear that. So I think it's a good
fine line
idea.
of, we want them to be in the school and be friendly, and we want them to be on the road and write a good amount of tickets, but not too little tickets. And
Yeah,
I want them to sit on Camp Brook for 2 hours on Friday, and I want them, you know, down here on Thursday at 6, like, you're asking a lot for 36 hours, so.
Right. Just like the food shelf and the library, you know, what is there more that we can be doing? And I know there's these community conversations going on, and I haven't been privy to them, but, you know, can we get this guys? Can we start?
is Deborah
But seriously, I mean, you know, it shouldn't be always the burden of the town to pay for some of these things.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about the sheriff's office that the constable was unable to do is the sheriff's office can leverage grant. So when there's a big program of click it or ticket or DUI enforcement, because the sheriff's office can participate in those because they're a big organization, Bethel does get a lot of free hours, like, you know, because they had to click their ticket money, and it's not just the sheriff that'll be here. You'll see other towns, maybe other policing agencies, because they're pooling together. So that is another, thing that I think maybe people aren't aware of is, yes, we're paying for these hours, but we do get some free hours.
I think the day before Thanksgiving, there were a couple of officers in town with.
Click it or ticket or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's-
Yeah, or whatever they call them now. Yeah, they probably call them different things now, but yeah, so I think that's true. So, so we'll, Human Services Advisory Board, I'll get that number, waiting to hear back.
Can I ask Paul about that?
Of
While
course,
he's sitting there?
yeah, of course you can.
Paul, did you tell Dana that she could get you the letter? And I don't know if she sent it to you today, but she sent me the financials on Friday or last week.
She she texted me last Friday
Mhm.
asking me what she needs to provide because she didn't know what they needed to provide. So I texted her back with the whole shooting match all over again.
Mhm.
And I told her that it was due on Monday, and if she needed it an extra day to work on it, that'd be fine, as long as I knew that she was taking care of it. So the first of the week, I don't know if it was Monday or Tuesday, we got a spreadsheet with income and expenses, and then nothing until late this afternoon, I guess. She sent over a letter, I haven't read it yet, a letter and the 501c3 certificate. So I'm not sure how the committee is going to, deal with that. We're going to meet at the end of the week.
Okay.
So that's where we're at with that.
Okay, let me know as soon as possible so I can move forward in another way.
Yeah, so the only, just to move forward with that, so
Mhm.
Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the only other option there would be because they're social servants, they're 501c3, he could petition, correct?
I'm sorry, what?
Because he's a 501c3, he could petition.
Yeah, they could petition. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just a question of, it's something that we're gonna have to talk about as a group.
Yeah, exactly, but once you guys have made your decision, they still have that opportunity, correct?
Sure, yep,
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
I just wanted to be clear, thank you.
yep. Well, they'd have to petition and come before the select board and talk about it, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly, okay, I just wanted to clear, okay, awesome, thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. All right.
Anybody else have any budget?
Anybody else have any budget questions? All right, we will move along to the removal of parking on Main Street from 196 Main Street to 246 Main Street on the east side only. So this is basically from Richardson Store to Mascoma Bank.
I did have a discussion today, a lady, and we were talking about it, and she was actually very much in favor of it, and, so same thing, doing the unloading zone in front of the laundromat, so that there would be like a 10-15 minutes, so that people aren't having to schlep wet laundry, whatever down, so that they could stop there and go in the laundromat, take their stuff in, and then move their car. So this is part of the Bethel for All, the grant that we did. We had all those meetings and whatnot. So this is one of the outcomes of that. And I think there was a question last time. So what we talked about was, that basically we weren't legal on Main Street. So driving lane, I know that Eddie was concerned that if we removed parking on one side of the street, that it'd become a speed lane. But a driving lane needs to be 12 feet wide. So for 2 lanes, we need 24 feet. And then another parking spot is 8 feet wide. So if you have legal parking of 8 feet on one side, the 24-foot lanes, Main Street's approximately 34 feet wide, and we need 32 just to be legal. So I don't think that by eliminating parking on one side of the street that we're gonna be, making it, a speed zone.
Be legal with one side.
Right. And the other thing is, and we've talked about this before, was when the state comes through and paves, at this point, we believe it'll be 27. Fingers crossed, it's 27. They have their own financial issues. So that when the company that got the contract paved they would not stripe it. They had to get special, they wrote and said, we're not doing it. You need to get, they got like a waiver from the state because we're not legal on Main Street. So remember that there's, when they go through, there'll be new, truncated domes, you know, like the little yellow things where people walk there for legal crossings. That'll be updated. Signage will be updated. This summer, we are installing, two Risbees. We have one that's gonna go right when you come into town, by Matt's Boma and Bethel Mills building. So there'll be flashing beacons there. So when people go to hit the crosswalk, there's flashing beacons there. They'll be at the other end of town by Spalding Press Depot, there that crosswalk is. We also, there's currently 2 flashing speed signs on Sand Hill. One of those is gonna move so that, you know, people seem to love to build up steam coming across Church Street to make up into the downtown. So there will be a sign there, also flashing, you know, speed signs. So this is something that, you know, Bethel for All worked on as part of that grant. And then the select board, this is the 2nd week they've had it on their schedule. I met with Du Bois and King, Richard Manning, AJ Roper, myself, we all met with Du Bois and King. They're the engineering firm that got the contract for the state. So they're the ones you meet with to make sure that if we have any risers or anything we need on sewer, what we're doing for crosswalks, this, that, and the other. And when I told them that the select board's considering removing parking on one side of the street, the state was like, yes, excellent. So you got people raising their hand.
Yep.
Sure.
Sure.
So I'm Leah Crowley, my husband Ryan and I own the property at 228 Main Street on the east side, which is the laundromat and also office. I am opposed to eliminating parking on the east side of the street. Mainly for my interest for my clients, my customers. The laundromat has been there since 1955 approximately. Has been open every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and services a huge swath of this community, elderly, people who don't have money for washers and dryers, people who live in apartments. And there are people of all kinds of different physical abilities who are schlepping bags of laundry in and out of this space. Some people, it takes them more than 15 minutes to even get any of their things out of the car, much less to finally put it in the machines, get it running, and then go back to their car and then find somewhere else to park. I think it's kind of fun and not really reasonable. And I would really ask that you consider, if you're going to consider closing one side of the street, why not the west side of the street? Why is it the east side of the street? I just want to look after my patrons who have been supporting us and living in this community. We have people that come from South Royalton. We have people that come from all the way from Randolph, because we provide a clean, safe environment, and they can come do their laundry and they can walk around Bethel. They can go get a slice of pizza. They can go visit friends at the bar. They can go to the sandwich shop or take a walk in Bethel down to the river, which I have a lot of people do as well. So I am really scared of eliminating one side of parking. You're going to have people coming through town and they're going to say, there's nowhere to park. So I'm just going to go on because you know what? They have pizza down the road, or they have a sandwich shop over there. So I can just stop there because there's nowhere to park in Bethel. And Bethel businesses need as much of your help as we can possibly get. This is not an easy community to have a business in. And I also kind of want to go speak to speed enforcement too, because if that's, you know, having this restricted drive-through is really a problem. You know, I'm in favor of having some police presence. I'm in favor of ticketing people going 5 miles over the speed limit. When the speed limit is 25 miles an hour and there are multiple crosswalks going in a very short distance, it becomes 5 miles over is good. They're children, they're elderly, they're infirm, all day long. And I would like you to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
Say, I've been on Main Street now 14 years. Okay, I work in glass visual. I see what's going on. One of the things that I see, what we used to have here was we used to have lines, white lines, which designated the parking and designated the travel lane. Now, I don't know whether things have changed drastically or not with that, but when that was in place prior to the water main project, you could tell where you were parked. About a month and a half ago, I saw somebody parked that was going to one of the exercise classes. She was 3 feet from the curb, parked, and left her Jeep there for 2 hours.
She take an Uber to the building?
I didn't have time, you know, but it was just, it was, think about it, you know, if there's a white line there, people are gonna, I will still look for the remnants. Lots of times when I pull up in front of my business to unload something, I'll look to see if I'm far enough over, because I don't know how these people with these giant vehicles can even see perfect, let alone, you know, park, you know?
Yeah.
The other thing is, we don't have enforcement. Who's gonna enforce this parking? No parking on both sides of the street. The other thing is, it also slows people down. When they have to slow down to come through town. Because you say it, those people, they're driving 40, 50 miles an hour through town. It's crazy. I mean, you see things, it's just nuts. Same thing with the crosswalks. I'm glad to hear that there's gonna be flashing signs, but without those gradients on either side of the crosswalks, people park right up to the crosswalk. Matter of fact, I have a picture of a delivery truck from Dead River parked in the crosswalk where they put the chocks on the crosswalk.
Yeah.
They put the tires on. They were there. You should have seen those tractor trailer trucks trying to get around them. They were also 2 feet from the curb. Exactly. Matter of fact, that was probably 2 months ago. A few days ago, during one of the snowstorms, I came in the morning at 7 a.m. and they were making another delivery. And I said to the guy, I said, "Do you realize you're at a crosswalk?" "Well, I can't reach the gas tanks." "Yes, you can. You're only going to be another foot."
Yeah.
So I looked at it. So how the hell did you get your CDL?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Come on, seriously.
yeah.
But-
So this is, just so you know, I mean, I think you do know, because you participated, and I believe this was part of that 18-month, you know, grant project.
I
with-
didn't participate.
You did with
I
Bethel
didn't
for All, and it was, Voice and King did a lot of work, and Ellie knows she was on the steering committee. There was a lot of outreach about people. They talked to, you know, businesses, they had meetings where people, how far are you willing to walk? Because that was a concern. My concern was that people lie. So are they really willing to walk somewhere and, you know, park, or what was the situation? But they're feeling, the study that Du Bois and King did, there was plenty of parking in municipal parking.
Okay.
Obviously, there's people to White Church, but
Right.
we know they're not gonna cross, I don't believe they're gonna cross the,
Well, I can
side of
tell
the
you,
nice weather.
I can tell you as a business person who deals with out of town people
Yeah.
coming through. Look, I can't tell you how many people walk into my business and say, "Can I park across the street in that lot?"
even though it's,
Because you're surrounded by no parking signs.
yeah,
You pull in there and there's all those bank signs
yeah,
were put there when the 89er used to pick up the front of my building.
Mhm.
Sheila, the
Yeah.
manager of the bank at the time, we gotta do something because everybody was parking.
mhm,
You also have all the signs on the hillside where it says permit parking only. All these people see is no parking.
yeah, they're not reading the
They're not
sign.
reading the signs.
Not that that's,
The other day, she had to wait almost the entire day to recharge her car because somebody was parked in front of the charger.
yeah,
And it was the day when the parking lot was completely full.
Yeah.
Because of the craft
thing
fair,
was going
thankfully,
on.
because there was a lot of attendance,
Oh, yeah.
but it's one of those examples, but there was no parking.
right, that's
there,
when,
so-
yeah, the Girl Scouts.
So-
Yeah.
I say, you know, maybe look at putting the white lines back if we can. At least there's something, and it may slow down the traffic coming through town, because you can't believe how fast.
Yeah.
cars go flying by my shop.
So I think that there's been several obviously accidents because you're looking at two vehicles coming and they're clipping off mirrors, this and that. What they said, what the state said, so if we move it, so there's the 8-foot parking, we move the center line where it should be. The 4 feet that's left on the other side, they will hash mark it off. And then, of course, there will be a sign, no parking from here to here. But I'm just saying what the options were it was giving. But this is not a scheme that the select board came up with. This is something that we paid money for, this grant, and this was one of the outcomes. And I will say there's a lot of for and against. I think there's a lot of people that are nervous to drive. You have a lot of as you know, customers of yours, older folk that are, they're afraid getting out of their car, they're gonna slip and fall and they're gonna get hit by a car, because it's so congested there. So that was one of the reasons that I think that they focused on Mascoma to, there, because you also know, not you, but you have people that own businesses that park right in front of the business all day long. So that's so will there be enforcement? To some extent that you have the sheriff's office, but there won't really be a place for people to park on that side of the road. That would be created.
Once you get past Mascoma, that stretch will be able to park on there.
Yeah,
Well, they would have to.
yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing there. The other thing, the town went through, the road crew went through back in early November, put up all the no overnight parking signs. I had a car out in front of my shop for 2 days.
Yes, we just called the sheriff's department.
You
about
did,
that.
the Subaru.
Yeah.
It's narrow block.
Yeah,
She pulled up on Saturday afternoon, parked there. By this morning, her car was still there.
yeah,
Luckily, the town crew put their snow.
yeah.
Size, I almost took all the snow from the sidewalk.
There's only so much we can do too. I mean, rules are there, we talk to the landlord, I mean, at some point, it's come on.
Yeah, I understand that it's common sense, but
You would
it's-
like to pay.
it's funny that, like I said, enforcement has to be, if you're gonna do this, it's gotta be. enforced.
Yeah, and I think part of it will be, there's going to be no space to park. So I think by moving the center line to where it should be.
Yeah.
But again, this is how this was not our brainchild. This is where this came
Well,
from.
this came from Bethel for all.
Yeah.
I had a feeling it did.
Yeah, it came from that grant.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
The first one being, are we being asked to become legal for the street or pushed that way?
No, I mean, no, because last time that, I believe that it was Pike that paved it last going downtown. And if I'm correct, Chris can answer this, I think that, they're like, this isn't legal. So I think that what you have is the fact that, they got special permission because they're like, we're not striping this because it's not right. The other concern is, I guess you should think about as a select board member, is the fact that they're not legal. So if someone got hit on Main Street, we are knowingly saying that our lanes are not the correct legal width, nor is the parking correct legal width. So I'd have to ask an attorney, but is there recourse there? I don't know, but is the state pressuring us? No, this came out of that grant.
I can say, a serious accident.
Yeah.
I've seen mirrors ripped off.
Oh, sure.
But these mirrors are 10 feet out now.
Yeah. And that's part of the issue too, right? Is some of the size of the vehicles, certainly.
It's the.
And now that Merrill's moved, that'll reduce some of the parking on the congestion. Yeah, they bought another building, so yeah, well, they still own the property, but that you don't have all those plumbing trucks there. They moved to River Street,
Yeah,
where the cabinet maker
The
was,
cabinet maker was.
yeah, River Street.
And then if we move the center line, there would be space for parking because there would be the temporary parking to unload.
Well, there'd be parking you'd have to, cut where you're gonna do that, but what you would make is the parking on the sandwich shop side, would be the 8-foot space and then legal line. And what we're talking, we may have to end it sooner to make for the unloading for the laundromat, which,
So you'd lose two spots for the loading zone because you'd have to cut it from the side too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we'd have to look
So
at
I
that.
just want all the information.
Yeah, yeah, so we would have to look at that, yes, but that was again, and this was surveys and information, this isn't anything I created.
They will only come through and paint the yellow line.
Correct.
Everything else has to be done by the town.
It has to be done by the town unless it's class one.
Yeah.
If I think that's correct.
No,
Yes, what I read was class one. Otherwise, yeah, the town.
The state highways
Mhm.
basically said the town is responsible for any other strike.
Yep.
The other thing I, like to see is, hash marks by the crosswalks and
Yeah.
we're getting off.
Yeah, because they're not supposed to park in
Well,
feet
you
across.
can't see them right.
No, I know, but I'm saying you're right. That's something else. So of course,
I cross that street more than probably 4 times a day,
Yeah.
sometimes 6 times a day, using the crosswalk. And I can tell you the number of people that do not stop.
yeah.
I end up, what I do now is point to the crosswalk.
Mhm.
I had one guy come in and apologize to me 2 days later.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah. I think-
Most people just kind of look at me like, huh?
Yeah, I thought the state law used to be within 15 feet of the parking lot. However, that's also gonna depend how we lay it out, right? So I think that Bethel has been fairly, maybe perhaps a little free with that, right, as far as.
Well, I will tell you, prior to the one, line was strike.
Mhm.
There was never a problem.
Yeah,
People could see. There are many days where I have to walk out onto, past the cars, so that you could see
Yeah.
other vehicles coming.
yeah,
And
and,
there's a recommendation in the plan as well. for
Yeah.
hash marks.
yeah, I think it could have been, yeah, and then the other thing too, and that's right, this came out during the water project. That's about the same time that the first project, the 2.8 was this, so.
Is there any way we can take back some of those spaces from Mascoma? Because they're only open from what, 10 to 4? No. No,
No, I'm sure that's true.
I park there because I know they're not open for the weekend.
Yeah,
Maybe Dave knows,
I'm parked there right now.
is when the Dave, did the bank give some of that parking? Wasn't that partly their parking lot? So did they reserve some of that?
Right, it used to be a big,
Fire
yep.
that took the hotel and housed it. Now, I was in the bank one morning, probably about 10 years ago, where the parking lot hadn't been touched yet. And I said to the manager at the time, I said, why don't you call the town and have them call that lot? He said, well, it's not my lot. I can't tell them to do this stuff. But I said, we've got your signs all over the place. And he says, well, I said, it looks like your property. It looks like it, this belongs to you. He said, oh, well, yeah, okay.
I could have Alice do a little deep research
Yeah.
to see if Mascoma, for some reason, that was my friend, I don't know why, but that when Mascoma, something came with the parking that they, gave, that they, may have been allotted X amount of parking spaces, but I just realized.
They only have like 3 people that work there. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I'll find out. Yeah,
okay.
well, and they've been there since I've been here, 8 years, so,
Yeah.
all right, well,
Try living in Burlington, Barry, or Montpelier. You're not gonna be able to walk 2 feet to get to a business. Burlington, you gotta take a cab to get to where you wanna go. But Owen had his hand raised. You still there, Owen?
Hi, y'all. I'm driving. I had a couple of questions. I was wondering, kind of like what Leah was saying with the loading zone in front of her spot. I mean, people are there all the time. It's definitely a spot that people utilize, especially people with different physical abilities. And so I'm wondering about that 15-minute spot and how that would be enforced. Like, are we talking about parking tickets or someone being there to mark people's cars and make sure they leave? Or are we just hoping that people would follow a sign, which I will tell you, people do not follow signs. I'm sure you're aware of that. So that's one of my
I think it was the honor
questions.
system, Owen.
Yeah, I foresee that being an issue. But I was also wondering if there's any way, it sounds like you're actually going to be changing the center line. So my first question was, is this something that could be temporal, like certain times of day you don't park? But it sounds like that's a no, right?
Well, once the center line changes, if the center line moves to where it should be, then it's not gonna allow for parking on one side because it would be about 4 feet instead of the 8 foot full space.
And then there'd be more no parking signs.
Yeah,
And, yeah,
right. Okay, yeah. And
yeah,
I echo what Denise was saying. I wonder if we can add some more spots in the lot by taking away some of those Mascoma signs. But I know that, like, for some of our events, people, I mean, we've gotten complaints from like people on North Main Street or up on Church Street that people are parking in their private parking because there's nowhere to park. And if Cockadoodle's open, if it's a Friday night, we're open. If there's, you know, an event that's going on, maybe something at the library, one of their evening events, it's hard to find parking already. And I know this was something that Bethel for All came up with for valid reasons, but it does see, I think we already have a parking issue. And so if there's anywhere we can add more parking, that would be great. Like that Mascoma, taking some of those Mascoma spots.
yeah, we'll take a look. I'm gonna ask Alice to look in the deeds because I don't know how that worked. That was for my time. So I'm not sure if they entered into an agreement, you know, between the town, Mascoma or what, both. So we're gonna look and
Yeah,
find out.
because they
So
have
I
like
don't know.
eight or
They
10
do have a lot of
spots.
spots there, so we're gonna check it out.
There's only 3 or 4 people that work there at any given time.
But we know you're driving. Do you have any more questions? I don't want to distract you.
Oh, I don't think so. Yeah, I think what Leah said, I really hear that. And we see people using that specific building all day. And so having no parking on that side or just the short-term parking seems like that would be really tough for folks. So something to consider, I guess, which side we're closing. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. Drive safe.
Thanks, Owen.
Can I motion to table this
For how long?
at least one more time? I mean,
Okay.
that's a lot to take in and think about and.
So we'll move it to the next agenda and I'll try to get you some more information.
There's the current plan being proposed is from Du Bois and King, right? And
Yeah, the one, yeah, you've got that's the next meeting date. I was just looking at.
22nd, I think.
It's not, is it from Du Bois and King or is it from the study?
Well, it's from
that
the
they're
study.
trying to follow.
They did an entire study about, you know, they talked to they talked to local businesses, they had zip code surveys, you know, where are people coming from? They did they interviewed people, how far are they willing to walk? Because we held multiple events I was on that steering committee for 18 months to get public opinion about how far they're willing to walk, what are they willing to do about this, that, and the other. So they took all that data and that's how they came up with that. And that was some of the information that I put in your packet a couple times ago was generated that Du Bois and King, they didn't make this up. This is what they came up with from the data and the input that they received from Bethel residents.
Yep.
They talked to us about.
Yeah. That's like, yeah.
Not that I don't remember seeing.
Yeah, because I remember watching Ellie, because I was on Church Street at the time. You were walking downtown and then you would walking over to the rec field or wherever else you were going.
Because we did it.
And it would be like every day there were like half dozen or a dozen people.
Well, we were doing the AARP. I think Ellie led one of those ones. Yeah.
Yeah, that went on for quite a while.
And we also did, yeah, because part of that was the AARP, we did the sidewalk inventory to see, you know, walking and what were hazards. And there was, I mean, it was 18 months and there was a lot of functions. So this is anything we came up with. This is what it came from, but we'll do a little more research and
So
see
can
what.
you bring back the bank, the answer about the bank?
Yeah.
And, the lawyer, talk to the lawyer and bring that back. as well.
liability.
Oh, about our liability? Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's always some liability,
Oh.
or is it like a slam dunk kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't know. There is no plan to currently do that, no.
That was the better thing that was in whatever report they did.
Yeah, they did talk about that was one of the, I think Royalton is currently doing that and they're into it for over $1 million was to make all the buildings on Main Street in Royalton handicap accessible by adjusting sidewalk height, and that's nothing that we can, we assume that if you bought a building on Main Street that you had or if someone has a business, they have that figured out in their own heads, how they were solving that problem. Yeah. Right. But you also have people there that would knock on the door, that you would go out and serve, yeah.
At the same time, people say, somebody said you need to put a smaller step in. I'm like, okay, that's a trip hazard.
Yeah.
Right. What's his name that used to own, the yellow building? Barry?
Kevin Barry?
Kevin Barry. He put that
He owns it.
handicap ramp up and,
Yeah.
but it still wasn't able to, and he was covering the water supply. And before he had the extra railing on the other side, kids were loving it as a skateboard ramp. They were flying over that all the time. It's like, this isn't working.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did you,
It was after that.
did you just have your hand up? Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry.
I could be wrong, but I remember before, like early when I was on the board, we talked about the school parking lot. And I'm pretty sure that it was gifted and.
That's what I.
Bang. And,
Heard that too, yeah.
and when they did that, they claimed X amount of spots.
That's what I wondered.
Not to say that you couldn't renegotiate or something, but.
Right. Is that before they had the drive-through? Because most people go to the drive-through now, you can't even get in there.
Yeah, I
half
don't
the
know,
time.
other than we had talked about this prior to the AARP grant stuff. And
Mhm.
that was one of the things that came out of that was, and I don't think anybody's ever challenged them. And,
No, we can
I
look
think-
and see if they
I think-
put anything in the
you know,
land records.
anybody that drives through here sees often that those spots are not used.
Oh, I use them.
But there's also, there's
I've
other
got money in
spots,
there, I'll use it.
there's other spots in the downtown that are often aren't used, like anything in front of the municipal parking lot on the side of the road is hardly ever parked. But I will say that if there were lines of parking installed painted, they would probably get used.
Mhm.
And then on the other thing is, we did the AARP study, which there was a lot of things that came out of that study.
Yeah.
Cause that's what it is, it's a big study.
Mhm.
Some things were about like reducing the decibel levels of the downtown, there was a bunch of things. But one thing that has been the tricky thing in this downtown forever is that it is not legal. The road right now is not legal to have 2 parking spots and legal roadway.
Cause
Now,
they're 12 and 12 and.
now
8,
maybe
right?
we have just gotten extremely lucky that nobody
Mm-hmm.
has gotten into a serious accident, which could happen anytime, right? But there's a lawyer waiting, like, to test that theory at some point, and the problem that you have with the legal parking is. In our cases, when you have non-legal parking on both, so right now, we have non-legal parking on both sides, it's not like one or not the other. So what happens is everybody then, as we've navigated the downtown, encroaches into the driveway. And then what happens is when a driver is driving through the downtown, all they are looking at are cars, they're not looking at pedestrians and things like that we should be looking. Instead, they're looking at, am I close enough to that truck or that mirror, navigate, and they're not paying attention to people. And that's kind of where, the whole science of, your parking stall may be 8 foot, the driveway lane needs to be 12 feet, and so on. So, and I know as far as, we've never acted out on the board, but the theory of the remapping of the downtown parking was that and maybe it's changed a little bit now than it had been then, was that there would be less effective businesses on this side of the street than there would be on the opposite side of the street. That was kind of the main reason of.
Yeah.
Like when AARP rolled that out, we had that blue lane, right? Yeah, green, whatever. or blue
Yeah.
lane.
That was,
Yeah.
Yes.
that was better.
Yeah,
was better.
yeah, and those were all things that
That way, yeah.
kind of went together and,
Which, I mean, I think I've seen one bicyclist come through town.
Yeah. Was it
Yeah.
that much?
It was
Yeah.
somewhere on River Street to ride a bicycle to Randall.
Yeah, and that was the better block, yeah, and then it rolled into that, and you were, obviously, if nothing's changed, that not for
When
them.
you said you never had a serious accident, what about that accident, the guy, ran into the tent?
And then he went down into the bar,
Yeah.
the gentleman who hit the bar, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
look, I think he meant by serious, is he didn't hit a pedestrian, but he did hit at least two cars.
Yeah, he had a medical emergency going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so. It was, I mean, it was, but I think he meant, it wasn't a serious, like, I think what Chris meant.
If he would have gone a little bit closer to Cockadoodle, he would have wiped, I don't know how he didn't catch that last standing beam at Cockadoodle. He,
That
because I
man
was
was very-
upstairs in the Arnold block and we looked out and it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
When, just getting all the knowledge, when does this decision need to be made by?
I'll have to ask, Chris Lathrop at Du Bois and King, I'll have to ask.
And then the follow-up to that would be just to keep in mind, is it possible that we would have time to put it out at the town meeting as a questionnaire, part of our questionnaire, and
Well,
just get feedback?
We're not doing a questionnaire, so that's a no, but, I don't know, but whether you could vote on it, put on the warning, I think that's too late. I think he's looking for answers probably by, I thought he, like January, but let me just double check with Chris.
Because you're
Lathrop.
gonna pave it the same, it's just unpainted. Right?
Yeah, but it's, what they're doing is Du Bois and King got the state contract to do the paving and it's Bethel, Northfield, maybe some other town. And so what they're doing is they're getting the engineering study done. So I don't know what his due date is. So I'm gonna talk, I can talk to him tomorrow.
2027.
Yeah, but he's trying to get the plans done. He made it sound like it was sooner that we had to have an answer. So let me ask Chris Lathrop, and ask him when he needs an answer because I don't know, Jordan.
Okay.
Okay. All right, this is, Jordan called to have this tabled about 10 minutes ago, so we're gonna move along. And now we're moving to the Bethel Fire Department SOG guidelines used for civilians, respiratory, breathing, air system, and 2 in, 2 out.
Nobody's second.
Well, I don't think you need to.
don't have
You're
to at the
just-
table.
We're just gonna continue the conversation. I'm not sure.
You don't have to table, we haven't had to table those
gonna keep
before,
going.
motions on those.
We'll just put it back on next.
Yep. Kind of like with the food show.
Yeah. Okay, yep, so there you go. So these were approved or reviewed and adopted by the Bethel Fire Advisory Board on November 4th. They didn't come in your last packet because they needed to be numbered, so Dietrich was doing something with the numbers that Gary had given her, so. That's why you have them separately from the last.
Okay.
Any questions?
Do we have any motions on that?
I haven't looked at it either. I don't know if anyone else has.
You have a what?
I haven't looked at it. Did you talk about SOG?
Yeah,
I haven't looked at them yet. This is like the one thing I didn't get.
well,
Okay,
we're,
I don't know, anybody else?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has. I mean,
oh yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
sure they're probably fine.
Okay.
I'm looking at it,
Yeah,
it's,
everything's been like really detailed, written, like
of paperwork.
more than I would say maybe necessary, but it's great to have
Yeah.
more than less.
yeah.
And that's why they're
And they've really
SOPs.
Knocking out of the
Oh,
park.
they came up high above.
Yeah.
The Bethel Fire Advisory.
Oh,
So the
yeah.
Fire Advisory Board, so I think these are the last ones that I think that Gary had done. And so the Bethel Fire Advisory Board reviews them. Fire Chief Paul Feeney is on that board. He's not a voting member, but he's on there. So they've all reviewed them. And they've approved them. And so then they come to the select board. Basically, you're blessing them because they've already gone through the work.
I wouldn't motion to approve.
Okay.
very detailed. I would second that.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we have the valuable request for a catering permit for Mascoma Bank holiday party. Can we hold them hostage with the parking? Give us the parking and we'll give you the permission.
Yeah.
On 12/17/20, it says 24, but I think they mean 25.
Thank you. Yeah.
From 4 to 9 at their 26, oh, they'll need the parking spots that day.
Mhm.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor? Okay,
So,
This-
who was the second?
Me.
Oh, so sorry, thank you.
Ben.
So I said, I think I
Yeah.
put that in the town manager's report, so this is a good time for Jed is to just. You are multiple things, besides a select board member and a board of civil authority member, you're the local liquor control. So that's why you approve these, and you're also part of, we haven't tell you either, there's the local cannabis control board, so. When permits come for that, it's one of the authorities, select board, to review them and. For that they.
And you are a cemetery commissioner.
And you're a cemetery commission. Yep, the cemetery foreman is Cecil, and we try to keep Cecil happy, so he does all the heavy lift. So, but yeah, so there's a lot of titles, and I thought about that from. I couldn't tell Jenny was local liquor control.
yeah,
Just FYI,
Here.
we're
Well,
like
bring it
sneaking
on,
things
yeah.
on him. Yeah, there's more. Yeah.
wait, there's more.
Mhm.
Okay. We get that done. Okay, now, Trish put this on here, discussion only of health officer / deputy health officer changes in January of 2026.
So, like I said, we had a health officer, which Chuck was wonderful. And yeah, wasn't he great? And then you like the one you have now? Yeah, me too. And unfortunately, and Chris Jarvis could have said this because Chris Jarvis has been it, Paul Valley has been it. The chair automatically becomes the health officer when you have no one else. And currently we don't, so that makes it Denise, and she's done it for a year. There have been some positive changes, which is the state is now does the apartment buildings. That used to be us, and if Chris was here, he would have told you that was like a 16-page report. It was pretty gnarly, so that's gone now. However, so I guess it's just something to think about if anybody wants to become the health officer. It is a stipend, you do get paid, and
How much?
$25 an hour.
From the time you leave your dooryard?
All the, my search in Peck, doing my typing my reports,
Yeah.
that counts.
There is a handbook online that you can look at, that would give you the information. So it's really, even if someone is not willing to be the health officer, maybe you'd be consider being a deputy. So at least if for some reason she has 2 dog bite issues, maybe one of you could pick one a month, something to think about.
I had 2 in 3 days, not long ago.
Yeah, it'd be nice if, we've had, Chuck was great because he was a doctor. And the whole bar, he was gonna tell you the way it works. So he was terrific, but he was, it was before he got done just as the state was taking over doing apartments, because that was really, and some of it was very time consuming. Now it's dog bites. Even if you get bit by your own dog, if you go to the ER, they send a notice to us and.
Or any health center, somebody went to the Sharon Health Center.
Yeah,
And I got the notice from them, and actually somebody that works at Country Animal Hospital, they had a new dog come in, and a dog that was really laid back and chilled, got excited and didn't break the skin, but went to the Gifford ER for an abrasion. But I got all the information, and then I talked to her, and I talked to the owner, and then I talked to her again, and
Yeah.
yeah.
so you're writing reports, you have to go, like if you, well, I'm trying to think now, we don't do apartments now, so you also handle other health emergencies, say somebody's septic fails and their neighbor calls, so you have to go out.
Dead
check
pigs.
that out. If you had dead pigs.
Dead pigs,
That was the
trash,
thing.
ordinance.
Yep, so there's some times you come in, yeah, we've been out together. Please. Yeah, I don't know.
What's happening with
It's currently, owned by, Miss Carpenter, and,
Susan.
there was an opportunity for her to sell it. She chose not to. There is no delinquent taxes, no delinquent utilities. The place is being
And
paid.
Chuck said,
So,
his last report said that it was not condemnable. Once it wasn't condemnable, and he said the bones of the building were still good, from what I understand, and he knew of somebody that wanted to buy it, and Susan refused.
yeah, so it has, but yeah, so all the bills have been paid, so it's nothing that we're not touching it at this point. Yeah, limitations, because what happens is it has to become quote unquote a public health emergency. So if, Ben's septic fails and he's flooding his neighbor's yard, it's a problem. It's a problem,
And every so often, the, like electrical company or the telephone whatever, come and put down bonds.
Yeah.
Right. They do that at that house right before you go around the corner to go up North Road. That, there's all those vines at the,
Yeah, in which they would, because they have an easement, so they need to maintain it, so that's why, they would do it, but, so anyway, so if you're interested in health officer, what they do, deputy health officer, it's all on the state Vermont Department of Health website, so it's just, sharing the love.
Really quickly,
Uh-huh,
have you heard about the furnace and the oil tank out on Main Street? Yeah.
yeah,
yes,
Keith came in today.
Keith came in today,
Did you get to it?
yep, well, he did, he had somebody, he gave us a name, so I was like, did you make that up?
Oh, yeah, cause he said, oh, you've heard of this guy, and it was just like something Okinawa,
Like what? Anyways, what he has done is, the furnace is there, the oil tank is there. He had someone scheduled to pick him up and they didn't come. So he has taken the furnace apart into a couple pieces and he has moved that and the beam off. So it's on his personal property and it's something that he is, the house is down and everything else at this point.
yeah, he came in this afternoon.
Yeah, I hadn't seen him. We've been sending
And I-
notices, so.
I gave him
it's
a call
there.
when he came in, he goes, did you drive by? I already took it apart and
Yeah.
moved it out of the way of the
I
plow.
looked at 5 feet back.
Yeah,
The plowing hit it.
so the plow
Until the guy I don't know where he pulled that name out of a hat.
is coming to get
Oh,
it.
he's still coming to get it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah,
That's
oh,
the
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
So Owen has his hand raised again?
Hi, Owen.
Hi, do you have to live in Bethel to be a Bethel health officer?
That's a good question. You don't have to live in Bethel to be the tree warden. And I remember that, I had to look into that. I don't think so, but I would have to double check.
You live in Bethel.
Aren't you interested?
Yeah, you could be the
You-
health officer.
I live in Bethel, but I don't know if I'm gonna be around here looking at dead pigs and all this, but.
Well, you get to ride with the game warden, Owen.
Somebody who lives just.
Owen, I got to ride with
Ooh.
the game warden a couple times. You sold now?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sold.
Yes.
But I'm thinking of somebody who's just over the line on North Road, but who might be really good for it, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, we'd have to look at the Department of Health website. I can't remember off the top of my head. I've personally never had a health officer that didn't live in the town, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. Oh, and I'd have to look.
Well, Deputy Owen. sounds
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good.
Jordan
Yeah.
says Deputy Owen sounds good, so, I'll look at the residency requirements.
Awesome.
Thank you, Owen,
I'll shoot you an email.
when you're not driving.
Yeah. So anyway,
up.
so that's it. So if you're interested, check it out. And there is a stipend and we budget like $1,200-1,500, something like that. But what was a vote in April of 20 something, that it'd be about $25 an hour. So,
Yeah, April 22, they changed it. Yep.
just so you know.
All right, moving on to the town of Bethel
I think I did
mailbox
that.
reimbursement policy.
I think I finally nailed it.
Ben, did you get it right this
I-
time? She got it right.
I almost put it in the packet, like, I think I got it.
Name on top.
Yes, she was going to.
I did. I almost put it in the town manager's report where I almost wrote, Ben, I think I nailed it.
Well, the only issue that I had with this is that the town will mail the property owner a check.
Right?
Where's your mailbox?
Insurance postage.
Oh.
Put the mailbox up
Right.
first and then we'll give you the money. All right. So,
You've already been approved. I just need signature, so we'll start with Ben. I was like, I almost put that in the town manager's report. Ben, I think I got it.
I think you said something. I don't think you called me
Oh,
out,
that's
but you
right.
did.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, Beacon up fine.
going on a while.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Got
Jed
tabled a few times.
Jed can't sign, yeah, because trees can't turn 80.
I think I finally have the $80 change to 100.
I almost wrote your name. Ben. Well, I think I.
I think we gotta change that to hand deliver because they won't have a mailbox.
But yeah,
So
Jed-
it's pretty funny.
How can we mail it to them? They don't have a book. with a mail-
You gotta go down, you can only do that for so long.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll get around to it. We're gonna cancel your mail. All right, I'll put it up.
Yeah, they did that to your neighbor. Okay, we're signing that. Okay, the town manager's report. I think you went over quite a bit of that.
Yeah, I think so. So we have our kickoff meeting for this week for Falcon Drive, so see how that goes, because currently, as of today, I only had two road crew workers working, so if you had a complaint about your road today, don't call. It was just AJ and Dylan, Paul's sick, Lyndon's sick, and Gabe's out with an injury, so they were, and Richard, God bless Richard Manning, he always helps out. So, we do have a meeting on the 10th, but I'm not sure because it's supposed to snow Wednesday, we'll see. I did,
wondering about our trip.
I hired, which one?
Like, is there some, it seems like the sand doesn't like, grow. Like it's very short.
Yep,
I didn't know if that's like something that we're just like, one day we'll afford it or.
did you say one day we'll afford it?
Yes,
Oh,
like, is it just the standard itself or? is
There's a
it-
rock in it.
well, it's a,
Or, I was just wondering.
That's what I
it's a
just.
third of the
I
road.
know, I'm joking.
So
I know, yes.
the deal is that, by rights, we need to do like a third of the road, right, for travel portion. So it could be that it was just, that's the way he has it set. And if it was getting enough sand so that it's, if he did it down the middle of the road and he's got some in both lanes,
Right.
then we're good. But, and also could have been that the fact that there's only two people
Well,
working.
no, it wasn't like recently, I just been
Okay.
like saying that
Okay,
that's all we,
so it seems to
Did
be
you-
like,
well, no, if that's the case, then that's all,
well, let me ask.
Spit out dirt and break
Was it
windshields.
last winter? Was it wider? Did you get more sand last year? Maybe they made two
Sometimes I
passes?
think they go like both ways,
Yes,
do it.
yep.
I don't know, I was just.
Paul was
I
up there
wasn't
last year.
complaining,
No.
it's just here.
It's also a new person doing your
Yeah,
route this year.
Paul is not doing it this year.
It's,
No.
no, it's Gabriel. So let me, that's a question. I don't know. So let me ask, but
Where's
we're,
Paul?
And Gabriel didn't work the other day when it snowed.
no, because he's,
So it's like a new guy?
so he's out with an injury, but, Paul is doing the village. So, AJ is doing the Camp Brook route. Lyndon does the same route he had last time, which is Gilead, that side of town. Gabriel took Paul's route, so he does, East Bethel, Christian Hill. Dylan took AJ's route, so he's doing, Brink and that road. So that's how it worked out. But let me just double check, but is anyone having trouble getting home? Like, is it a issue?
Oh,
No, but I have a question.
Okay.
Not this storm, but the storm before.
Yeah,
Do we have, are we designated school bus routes? Because they didn't plow where I live, which is a school bus route,
mhm.
11:30 in the morning.
I don't know if we have pickups on our road anymore, but maybe.
So what I can tell you is,
They used to all be in Bethel.
there
Yeah.
was. So in the last snowstorm, not this one, but the one before, they had some breakdowns, so they were out late. Wasn't anything major, it was just boom, boom, boom. And then we had two guys stuck and within 100 feet of each other. So one was trying to pull one out. So some of the stuff happened, so.
The road, what do you call it?
Perm?
The border,
Perm,
no,
Corey,
Sanders,
Sanders Road,
yeah,
well plowed and sand,
yep.
and then plow hadn't touched Christian Park myself.
probably good.
I can go, I'm not.
They know.
No big deal.
It's your fault, Cleveland.
I don't know. I'd have to ask
No,
whether,
you two, there's three of us on that road.
well, I will say
Yeah.
this. I also know that somebody's, the sander, like the
Nothing.
belt and the sander broke
No.
on somebody's, but they did have like three, they had they had some breakdowns, 3 when I was out that day, they had 3 like AJ said, boom, 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 and he goes, nothing major, but just enough to stop us, and he goes, then we, fix it, get somebody back on the road, so sometimes it's just a little bit of that, is just, something happens and they're
Is there
something stuck, and
I noticed it because it's completely different than anything I've ever done before.
yeah.
Sanders Road gets it when that bus route is
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, and it could have just been, like I said, you have a new plow driver, even though, he knows the route, maybe.
And maybe there wasn't any school that day either, because they did have a day where they canceled school.
It was a snow day,
It was a snow
Yeah.
day.
that Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yep.
So-
but still, I don't know what the deal was, Dave, but did it get picked up in this last storm?
Not gonna tell people what to do.
No, I'm just saying is, I don't know what the deal was. I don't know if there was a breakdown, I don't know what happened. I got a call the other night at home, from somebody who on Trout Brook wanted to know why we hadn't sanded it or plowed it that day. We had, but apparently not to their satisfaction, we sanded it, so,
Yeah,
it's
because
hard to
that
get-
last big storm, they were out 24/7.
You plow, you set up a route,
Yeah,
and you do it a certain.
yeah.
School bus route, do it that way. Just, okay, no school day, so I'm gonna turn my route around.
Well, no,
No.
Oh, you don't do that.
that's not the case. So something must have happened. That's all I can think of, Dave, is something must have happened, because that would be, they just
Yeah.
don't do that. They do their routes in a pattern all the time. So
Because I
I'm
know
not
that
sure.
big storm a couple weeks ago, whenever that was, I mean, they have to go down by my house and I was just hearing trucks that night and day. I'm like, these guys even going to bed this time?
Yeah, so I'm not sure, Dave. I assume something would have happened, because that's not it. That's not the route. So,
I can, but I just,
yeah,
something's completely different.
yeah, but it was just one time. It hasn't happened on the regular. So,
Okay.
all right, and I'll ask about the sanding, because I don't know.
All right, select board minutes from 11/24/25. They okay? Any changes anybody else saw or anybody saw?
I'm all set.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve as written.
All in favor?
All right.
And any other communication? I think we had something from the Conservation Committee.
So there was somebody having, so
Yep.
yeah, and then there was just the backup stuff from the sheriff's office. We had energy committee minutes and,
And yeah,
I think that was about.
Curious about the, I see a lot of stuff on I-89. From the sheriff, is that just because it's in Bethel that they're recording those, or are they stopping people that they follow from Bethel on the I-89? Like, why is it reported that
I don't
they're
know.
even stopping people on 89?
I don't know.
There,
I mean, part of it is in Bethel.
as a
correct?
general rule of thumb, that is not. Part of the
There's several.
forte,
Yeah,
but.
I've seen some pictures.
It could be a follow, if. They're allowed to.
Right, no, I
Yeah,
know.
but that's not part of like their contract, I know that with all the towns, they don't look for you to be
Yeah,
on 89.
and it was too, at their 11:06, it was boom, 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 and George Ray, maybe they were following somebody, maybe they were doing,
But
yeah.
it's a good question to save for the next meeting, because I assume the sheriff. Okay.
Uh-huh.
town office.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, and I did tell you, I hired Ketchum Property Maintenance
Yep.
to clean up, so we'll see how that
So
goes.
we got that, you know.
Yeah,
No problem. So
I did.
$50.
health officer's already been out there, so. and-
Yeah, oh, I've been out there several times. I've talked to Loretta several times. I've texted, I've emailed, I've called.
Fine.
Alright.
So
Anything else from Deputy Ellis?
I think that's it. I don't think so. You all said, Owen? Anything more before we close it up?
Last call, Owen.
No pun intended. I think he's focusing on his driving.
It's
Yeah,
like
he's
driving
probably-
through town right now. You gotta-
No, all right,
Motion to adjourn.
there we go. All second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, 8:40.